Excuse me, where's the airport MRT? Go downstairs and then you can see the station on your right hand side. And does it go directly to Taipei main station? Yes. Are you traveling? No, I'm here to study. Welcome to Taiwan. I've traveled thousands of kilometers to come here. I'm very excited for my decision and I look forward to the unknown that's awaiting me.
Nanomedicine. Yes, Professor. You want to do an internship in Taiwan before you begin your research? Medical schools in Taiwan have intern opportunities for foreigners. As far as I remember, there is one university working on this topic.
Hi, could you help me find the sandwich man upon me? Here it is. Oh, thank you. Did it for Professor Chu's Chinese class? Yeah, I was in his class too. Many universities in Taiwan have a Chinese language learning center. There are lots of Chinese learning resources for me here.
Yeah, me too.
Thoughtful question are very applicable and useful to my life here in Taiwan. Foreign businesses in my country accept TOEFL certification. Passing the test will boost my chance of finding a job back home.
Hello.
My professor, classmates, and I are investigating about coastal pollution and the transition of fishery. We are also taking actions in this community, hoping to achieve environmental sustainability.
Hi, Demi. It's almost full, so it should be about 9 a.m. there. Do you have your data ready for the conference?
Yes, Professor. I haven't liked the data yesterday, but
Okay, see you later.
my lab often works with research institute overseas on multiple projects. International teamwork has been really challenging, but I feel accomplished as a part of the team.
这个问卷大概需要15分钟，那就麻烦你了。
这是关于人类学的研究，
对，这有很大一部分呢是关于安乐死的探讨。
这题目感觉蛮争议的。学校那边都 OK。
可以啊，只要不违反学术伦理的题目，都可以跟教授讨论。
Taiwan is truly a country of mature democracy with vast freedom of speech and academic study. Called the fumarole. It's actually caused by post-volcanic activity. Now, Taiwan may not be a big island, but it's got a unique blend of topographical and ecological features. That's one of the things that makes. My professor is a distinguished scholar in the field of geology. I could only dream of being in his class before coming to Taiwan. Just as he said, although Taiwan is not big, it has lots of treasures hidden in it. It's still me a bubble tea. Of course, I will back to Taiwan for sure. I'll get you 3 cups. Bye, guys. Have a safe trip. Bye.
This 1 year in Taiwan is the most important year of my life. I've learned so much here that I can't wait to go back home to contribute what I've gained and realize my dream.
Some take what they've learned and depart for the next destination. For these people, Taiwan has become an important nutrient. Some others, however, choose to stay, for there are so many opportunities awaiting them. In order to reward and incentivize top and outstanding overseas compatriot students to study in Taiwan, the Overseas Community Affairs Council is offering a special scholarship for university students. Applications are now open. In 2023, for the first time ever, the OCAC is launching a generous scholarship for overseas compatriot students to study at university in Taiwan. What's more, partner enterprises and universities are also offering joint scholarship programs so that you can enjoy a world-class learning environment with peace of mind. Continue watching this video and learn how you can apply for the scholarship. In order to develop and retain overseas compatriot students, the OCAC provides scholarships to top and outstanding overseas compatriot students who apply for undergraduate programs in universities and colleges in Taiwan, such as scholarships for top overseas compatriot students, 260,000 new Taiwan dollars per academic year, renewable in accordance with review results, for a total of 1,040,000 new Taiwan dollars for 4 years. Scholarships for outstanding overseas compatriot students, 100,000 new Taiwan dollars per academic year, renewable in accordance with review results, for a total of 400,000 new Taiwan dollars for 4 years. Eligible applicants, graduates of senior high schools or higher, with excellent academic performance and good conduct grades. The applicant must meet the requirements for overseas students who come to Taiwan to study for a bachelor's degree under Article 2 of the Regulations regarding study and counseling assistance for overseas compatriot students in Taiwan. How to apply? Scholarships for top overseas compatriot students. The applicant must have an overall academic grade of at least 88 points on average, within 5% of the class, as well as an overall conduct grade of at least 80 points on average. Scholarships for outstanding overseas compatriot students. The applicant must have a minimum overall academic grade of 85 points on average, within 10% of the class, as well as an overall conduct grade of at least 80 points on average. Country of residence of the scholarship applicant when the calculation of grades is different. The RSC Overseas Commission and the unit designated by the OCAC that accepts the application shall convert the grades. Applications shall be submitted in accordance with the announcement and application forms of each RSC Overseas Commission, Overseas Community Affairs Division, and the units designated by the OCAC. External announcements and preliminary reviews will be carried out by the RSC Overseas Commission and the units designated by the OCAC. The results will be announced to the public after the preliminary list is sent to the OCAC for approval. After the scholarship recipient comes to Taiwan to register and report to the school will submit the information of the student to the OCAC, and the OCAC will approve and disperse the scholarship and have the school to forward the money. The scholarship recipient should report to the school for registration on time. If he/she fails to come to Taiwan by the prescribed deadline, he/she is deemed to have relinquished the scholarship and her qualifications shall not be retained. The scholarships are available for application now. Partner enterprises and universities are also working with us to launch joint scholarships. Visit the official OCAC website to find out more or reach out to the nearest Taiwan Embassy representative office near you for more information on the application. Be top, be outstanding, beyond your vision.
有想过你想上什么样的大学吗？是全台湾最大的大学，是有各种学习资源的大学，是一个可以带你前往世界。
那最珍贵的是我们自由的学风。那我们在台大的时候可以自由自在的学习。那当然，台大另外很珍贵的是我们有非常优秀的同学。你到台大来，就可以跟很多优秀的同学一起学习，能够在这里组织可能未来自己事业的伙伴们。那台大另外一个很好的地方是我们最优秀的老师，可以给你很好的教育，所以利用这么好的设备、这么好的老师、这么好的学习，一定会有获得非常良好的学习的成效。 弹性与多元的这个选修的方式是台大的一个特色。那台大有56个学系，有130几个研究所，所以有各式各样的课程可以提供。每一个人到台大来，等于是打开了跟国际连接的一道门。那每年呢，我们送800多个学生出国交换，那我们有5000多个国际学生在台大校园里面走动，600多个姐妹学校可以供同学来做连结。那所以你到台大来，等于是连接到600多个姐妹学校去学习一样。我们台大是希望能够提供弱势的家庭，尤其是经济弱势或者是文化弱势，甚至社会地位弱势的同学，可以到台大来。我们能够提供同学们奖学金，减少他的学费，减少他的住宿费用，甚至保障他3餐如鱼。所以希望能够保障他的生活的同时，也让他有一个非常好的学习的这个机会。
那你想要怎样的大学生活？吃午餐能买到各种美食，上课到附近的咖啡厅读书。你想在酷酷的教室上课，又或者动手做各种东西。
对大学期待简单一句话就是希望可以入宝山，岂能空手而归。但是希望能够运用台大的资源和环境，把自己打磨成一个更加耀眼的存在。我觉得帮助我最多的是我在台大认识到很多志同道合的朋友，不管是同系级的学长姐们或同学学弟妹们，还有因为兴趣而共同在一起的社团伙伴们，我觉得他们都可以给我很多帮助跟支持。然后我也觉得在台大有非常多优秀的。
觉得台大最可贵的地方在它的环境，自由的学风。我觉得在这里是真的可以遇到很多各式各样的人，想法上的撞击和思想的解放是我觉得收获最大的地方。因为有可能原本你看到的世界只是这么大，但是来到这里以后，不只是想法上的改变而已。我觉得有时候它使你更懂得谦卑，也更具有包容力，你看到的世界就更辽阔了。My life in NTU has been really amazing. I think every day brings something different in an NTU student life. I think this is because of friends that I've made, friends I can study with and have fun with at the same time. I think NTU also is doing a great work in the person that you are, because NTU pushes you to be more productive, to give the best out of you in anything that you are doing.
所以你到底想做什么？你想尽情学习各种知识，还是用镜头记录每个角落？你想透过城市创造新的数位可能，还是你想做一个可以改变世界的研究？你未来想成为什么样的人？
我们希望能够建立一个以学习者为中心的开放式领域。那这儿的开放，实际就是说，对于学校里头，不管是这个事情也好，科系也好，大半都有一些界限那我希望能够踩出这个界限，让学生可以在这样子的环境当中，可以更加自由自在自主的学习。所以我们推出了一个叫探索学习的计划学生可以利用在大学的时期，可以有一个 gap year 的概念你可以是 gap 1 year 或者是 gap 1 semester，就是离开学校一个学期去做你想要去做的事情。这边也是希望说可以借由这样子一个计划，让你找到一个你想要去探索的事情，然后你可以自己的去规划你想要去探索的方向，会陪着你去完成这样的一个所谓学习。我们也提出了所谓创新的学士学位学程，这个我们在未来出的时候，其实会是1跟他为同来学的我们就希望说，这个学生就是你那里面要填什么是由学习者决定的。那我们也希望说，这个学生可以从一个很简单的你想要解决的问题开始然后得到你的学习初心。那利用学校的很多的领域方式去拼凑出你自己自主学习的一条路径图因为学习这件事情不会停留在大学毕业的那个时候，面对多变的问题，其实这个学习都是不断的进行的。也就是说，大学毕业之后进入社会，你还是得好好的学习。那我们希望能够在大学时期当中做好 学会自己实践这件事情，让台大陪着你把这件事情学好，面对未来，多变的未来，可以让我们更备。
现在你想好要上怎么样的大学了吗？在这里，你不止一种选择，你更不需要标准答案，自由填满你的大学生活，每一个空格都是一种可能。未来大学属于你的大学。
University Tunku Abdul Rahman, one of Malaysia's leading teaching and research universities. Is a not-for-profit university and is wholly owned by the Utah Education Foundation. Upon the invitation of the government, the team of founders led by Tun Dr. Ling Liang Sik, who was the Minister of Transport and the MCA president then, started the process of setting up a new university, and Utah was established in 2002 on 13th August. Tun Dr. Ling Liang Sik became the first chairman of the Utah Council and the first chancellor of Utah. The Utah Board of Trustees, Utah Council, and Utah Management are the fundamental backbone that governs the university in its pursuit of educational excellence. The International Advisory Council, the Industry Advisory Panel, external examiners, professional bodies, and partners contribute towards quality assurance and industry relevance. Utah's vision and mission propel the university towards a trajectory of educational and research excellence with transformative societal impact. The Utah 6 Pillars of Education and the Strategic 10-Year Plan are the foundation to prepare and shape our students to be the future generation of leaders, movers, and thinkers. Utah's learning community is smart, connected, and vibrant, which create opportunities for learners to engage with the rest of the world to broaden educational experiences and create experiential and lifelong learning. We aim for excellence in all aspects of our education for our students, to prepare them for future challenges, digitization, and the ICT revolution. Our formalized local and international collaborations with universities and industry partners enable our students and staff to learn across cultures and locations through collaborative research projects, study tours, academic exchanges, and overseas internships. We take a holistic approach towards education, and we strive to celebrate diversity in all aspects of our educational activities for character building and personal development of our students. Our numerous community and voluntary projects ensure that our students graduate with a heart for the people and an understanding of charity for the needy. Through our Utah Soft Skills Development Certificate Program, students receive a balanced education with the relevant soft skills. Our students are immersed in both research and academia, gaining research experience, through our research centers and faculties and our undergraduate research scheme, and collaborating with industry experts while guided by our experienced academics, researchers, and technologists. Our students are also linked with the industry through seminars, training, curriculum development, and internships, and they are gaining recognition from local and international professional and academic organizations. UTA encourages staff and students to explore, innovate, create, and excel. This has led to many beneficial outcomes and local and international awards and achievements. Has also embarked on a journey to reduce its carbon footprint in support of sustainability and more efficient use of resources. We have adopted tree planting to keep the campus green, encouraged cycling on campus, and incorporated the use of solar energy in our Kampa campus. Our consistent focus on teaching, learning, and research excellence has resulted in the university receiving much recognition both locally and internationally. Not-for-profit university, UTA is thankful for the generosity of philanthropists, donors, individuals, organizations, and the community. In return, the university gives back to the students by providing financial assistance through scholarships and loans. As a university by the people, for the people, UTA continues to serve the community and the nation with the establishment of the UTA Hospital in Kampa campus. This hospital will also be a not-for-profit hospital, providing quality, affordable medical and healthcare services in Western medicine and traditional and complementary medicine to the community. Moving forward, UTA will continue to excel towards progressive growth in support of educational excellence to fulfill the aspirations of our students, the talent requirements of the industry, and the educational objectives of the nation.
Exabytes is Southeast Asia's leading cloud hosting provider since 2001, with 20 years of experience. But today, we are more than that. We power over 160,000 businesses worldwide, covering SMEs, government agencies, corporate companies, individuals, and more, offering domain name, web hosting, server, cloud, managed e-commerce, digital marketing, business solutions, marketing tools, and more. With our core values in mind, reliable, affordable, simplified, and advantage, using the power of technology to grow your business online. Exabyte, Southeast Asia's leading all-in-one business, cloud, digital, and e-commerce solution provider.
Exabytes, grow your business online.
Autocount.com Berhad is the leading business software solutions provider for small and medium enterprises, including multinational and public listed companies. The company possesses deep and broad experience in software development and is certified by ISO 27001:2013 to ensure that our products, services, and processes meet the highest information security management standards. Our suite of business application solutions is available for both on-premise and cloud-based deployment, giving our clients unparalleled flexibility. Our main office is located at Oasis Corporate Park, Ara Damansara, Selangor, Malaysia. We began our operations in Malaysia and have since expanded to Singapore. Our goal is to further broaden our presence in Southeast Asia by venturing into other countries such as Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Vietnam. AutoCount was founded by two visionaries, Mr. Chu Chin-hung and Mr. Chu Ye-ti, who have over 2 decades of business experience in the software industry. Our core management team, comprising of Mr. Ben Stein, Mr. Alex Ng, and Mr. Kenneth Lim, are all accomplished leaders in their respective fields and have demonstrated their ability to consistently deliver results. Today, our brand has become a household name and proudly stands as Malaysia's #1 software provider. Since our establishment in 1996, we have developed into the top software provider in Malaysia and positioned ourselves as a one-stop business application solution for SMEs. Our comprehensive suite of 6 different business applications has been designed to meet the unique needs of various industry verticals in mind. In 2010, we partnered with the education sector to provide AutoCount accounting courses, which have been well received by the students and professionals alike. Our commitment to excellence has been recognized by reputable organizations such as the Star Outstanding Business, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and Bank Biz Race, and Future Business Excellence, who have honored us with several awards. In recent years, we have introduced a series of cloud-based products helping SMEs to harness the full potential of the cloud. We are proud to have gained the trust of approximately 210,000 businesses and companies spread across different industries and societies. Our software is highly reliable, customizable, and is backed by a solid development framework. With a strong focus on research and development, we strive to deliver software of the highest quality that provides maximum benefits to small and medium-sized enterprises. We have 269 AutoCount.
各位同学、各位老师，大家早上好。今天来到我们这个工作坊的最后一场第5场。谢谢大家这么早来参加这个工作坊。那今天主要是针对历届考题的一些解法了那报名的。等下工作坊之后呢，有一些同学还没有报名到的可以我们有一些时间来凑对。那今天呢，主要在历届的考题，还有一些考试规则的那个比赛规则的一些说明。那由我们优大的老师就是许彦明教授，就是 Dr. Jasmina Kao， 还有我们的康欣怡博士。来主讲。我们的预赛呢将在8月19号8月19号，那下午3点半。那详细的那个时间呢，会由我们会发出通知，在群组里面公告。那决赛呢会在9月1号吧那我们时间地点已经确定了就是巴生的新华中学的早上9点。那决赛当天呢下午也会有一个请一些有一个forum 有关于这些科技的一些讲座会有请到拉曼大学的一些教授，还有台湾大学的教授来主讲。我们在决赛的一些细则会有一些调整在我们工作坊过后才实行公布。那这个活动一样，我们要感谢我们的那个赞助商就是 AutoCount， 还有我们的 server 的供应商 Exabyte， 还有台湾的侨委会跟教育部给我们鼎力的一个支持。那我们这段期间也有陆续收到一些商家的一些 sponsor 啦，我们会陆续把它公布出来，谢谢。那下来我们就有请我们就直接进入这个工作坊的那个说明。那么有请那个犹大的老师康博士来。康博士还有那个许博士，哪位先来？
哦，我会先。
好。
我先。
好，谢谢。
好，谢谢 Mr. Chu。Okay. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 National Secondary School Programming Context Workshop 5, Session 1. I'm Cindy, and basically I will be the speaker of this session here. All right, so basically in the first session, I'm going to discuss with you some sample questions so that you all can have a better view, you can know how the questions will look like in the final competition. So it's going to be 1.5 hours sessions, so let's start right now. Okay, before that, let me share my screen first. Okay, so I hope you all can see my screen. If you can do that, just let me know. All right, so this is the first session. Just wait for a moment. Okay, so this session is called the problem solving one. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to discuss some question with you, right? Let us try to look at the first sample question first. So this first question here, it is entitled reordering array. So usually when you try to look at a question, you will be given a question, and then after that, you will be given the input and also the output of the test cases. So I'm going to explain to you how the question looks like first. For example, this first question, you are required to reorder the elements of an array with the following instructions. So the first instruction is that all the elements with the smallest value will be listed at the beginning of the array. And then the second instruction, all the elements with the largest value will be listed at the end of the array. So which means that we are going to move all the maximum value to the end of the array. At the same time, we will move the smallest value to the beginning of the array. But don't forget that there is the third instruction here. The remaining elements will be listed in the relative order as they appear in the original content. So maybe we try to use this example to check how the instructions will be applied here. Okay, so this example here shows you the original array content and also the reorder array content. This is the original array given to us. Then we just try to follow the three instructions given. The first one here, it mentioned that the smallest value should be moved to the beginning of the array. From this original array, we know that the minimum value is equal to 0, right? We can see that the minimum value here is 0 here. We should push it to the front. But for this case, you can see that there are 2 zeros in this original array. So after you're done reordering it, you can see that there are 2 zeros here that we have moved it to the beginning of the array. Then after that, we try to look at the second instruction. All the elements with the largest value, we have to move it to the end of the array. From this original array, we know that the maximum value that we have is 10. Right, so the value is 10, then you can see that we have first 10, second 10, third 10. We have to move all these 3 10 values to the end of the array. We can see there are 3 10 here. Okay, so it means that we have done putting in the first 2 instructions. We have done reordering array based on these 2 instructions. But how about the last instruction here? all the remaining elements, it should be listed in the order same as they appear in the original content. So we can check what are the remaining elements. We have the 6, 8, 3, 1, correct? So all this 6, 8, 3, 1 here, you just need to put it back. We have 6, 8, 3, 1 here, the same order, and then but we just right now here, we have to place it back between the minimum and the maximum value. So this is so-called the reorder array. Okay, this is an example to show you how the array being reordered following the 3 instructions. Then we try to look at the next slide here. So usually when you're looking at a question here, you have to check what is the input and what is the output. So the input is that when you try to write a program, the input that you need to provide to the program. So for this case, there are 2 inputs. The first input, this is the first one, the X here, is going to representing the size of the array, where the X is between 1 to 50, right? Then after that, the next inputs will be the X integers that represents the elements of the array. For example, if let's say we use the example just now, you can see that this is the example that we have discussed in the earlier slide, okay? So the first one, X is 9, which means that I'm going to put in 9 values in this array. That's why we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we are going to put in 9 values, 9 integers as the elements of the array. Okay, so the same thing, if let's say we look at the last case, test case here, if let's say the X is equal to 10, the next input that you need to provide to the program should be 10 values here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have to provide 2 inputs to the program. The first one is the size of the array. The second one is the X integers, which is representing the array elements. So there are 2 inputs here. After that, after your program done taking in the inputs, done processing it, this is the output that we have. Output the order of the elements in the reorder array following the 3 instructions given. So we have to output the reorder array content, right? So each 2 consecutive elements in the array will be separated by a space. What it means by this line here. So just now you know that this is our final output here. We're done moving the minimum value 0 to the front. We're done moving the maximum value 10 to the back. And then we're also putting in the remaining elements 6, 8, 3, 1 here. But it asks you to separate them by space. If you didn't separate them, it will become like 0, 0, 6, 8, 3, 1, 10, 10, 10. Right, so it's going to be like a number already. So you have to separate the elements by a space. Okay, so this is the input and this is the output. Usually in the final competition, there will be 5 test cases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So what you need to do is that when you have done a program, you've done your code, right? Just make sure that you have to check whether your program can produce the correct output, the same output as shown here for each of these 5 cases. Okay, so this is the question example. And then after that, I'm going to discuss how can we solve this question. Before I proceed to actually brief you how can we write the code, we should have an overview of the solution first, because we have to think of how can I solve it. I need to know the solution first. Only after that, I can start coding, right? For this case, I try to show you 2 examples here, the simple examples. The first one, when my values are 2, 3, 1 here. This is the first sample. And then my second sample is that there are 4 values, 1, 3, 3, 2. Okay, so for this case, let me try. All right. So for this case, you can see that let's try to look at the first sample. Why I want to start with a simple example is that if I use a simple example, you can catch the concept of the solution behind. So if when I talk about 2, 3, 1 here, we know that we have to move the maximum value 3 to the end of the array. Okay, so you can look at the one that I highlighted here. If it is not maximum value, we just push it to the front. Remember this concept behind? Because why? I want to move the maximum value to the end of the array. So it means that if I found out that the value is not the maximum, I will just push it to the front. Okay, so for this case, if let's say we have 2, 3, 1 here, we have 3 values, you can think that the x is equal to 3, the size of the array. Okay, so from these 3 values here, we know that the maximum is 3, right? So at the end, I want to move this 3 to the back of the array, to the end of the array. So what we need to do, the first thing is that we have to check every element in this array. I want to go through every element and see whether it is maximum or not. Then I want to move it to the end, right? So the first one, I will try to look at the first value, which is 2 first, okay? Usually in array, right? Or let's say we try to use A to represent my array. Usually for an array, the index number will start with 0. Okay, so this one, A0 here, this is the A0, and then it has the value of 2. Okay, so this value here is 2. Then we know that this 2, it is not the maximum. Because 2 is not equal to 3, of course, this 2 here, it is not the maximum. So you see the concept here. If it is not the maximum, we should push it to the front, right? So where should I push it to? This is the next question. I'm going to push it to the position where the occurrence of the non-maximum value will be placed. I can write a comment for you here. I will push it to position where the non-maximum value will be placed. Okay, so I will push it to the place that the non-maximum value will be placed. For this case, it should be the position 0. I push it to the front. I push it to the first position, which is position 0. Why I put the 0 here? Because again, in an array, it always starts with the index number of 0. Okay. Then after that, I will continue to check the second value. For the second value here, you see the value is 3, right? The value is 3, it is the maximum. So of course, when it is a maximum, I no need to push it to the front, right? I don't touch it. So that's why I put A1 remains here. The 3 will just remain at this position 1. After that, we'll check the next value. So the next value is 1 here. So the A2, because this is pointing to the A2, the third element of the array. So this A2 here, the value is 1. It is not equal to 3, which means that it is not the maximum value. If it is not the maximum value, remember that we have to push it to the front again, right? So again, where should I push it to? Just now, I have pushed the 2 to the first position, the position 0, correct? So right now, when I get this 1 here, it is not the maximum. So I have to push it to the next position where the non-maximum value will be placed, which is the position 1 here. All right. So it means that the first non-maximum value 2, I push it to the position 0. And then the second non-maximum value 1 here, I will push it to the position 1. Okay. So after you're done pushing it to this position, but because originally at this position, we have the value of 3. When you want to push 1 to it here, you have to swap the value with 3, right? 1 will swap to here and 3 will swap to here. So eventually, the final content in this reordered array will become 2, 1, 3, which means that we have successfully moved the maximum value of 3 to the end of the array. All right, okay, so this is the first sample, the first example. Let's try to look at the second example to get more familiarized with the solution. So let's say I have the x is equal to 4 because I have 4 values here, 1, 3, 3, 2, okay? Again, I have to traverse each element. I have to check every element in this array. So look at the first value here. The value is 1. Of course, 1 is not equal to 3. It is not equal to the maximum value, right? If it is not the maximum value, remember, we just push it to the front. But where should I push it to? So I should push it to the position where the non-maximum value will be placed, which is position 0 here. All right. Then I will continue to check the next value, which is A1 here. So A1 here, the value is 3. It is the maximum. So if it is the maximum, I don't push it to the front because it is a maximum value. So that's why A1 remains here. Then we continue again. We check the third element. So the third element here, A2 is equal to 3. It is still the maximum value. We don't push it to the front. That's why A2 remains. After that, we continue to check the last value here. The last value, A3, it is equal to 2. So it is not the maximum value. Then I know I should push it to the front. But where should I push it to? I should push it to the position where the next occurrence of the non-maximum value will be placed, which is the position 1 here. All right, just now we start at the position 0. After that, we'll start at the position 1. Okay, so after that, at the end, you're done swapping this 2 with the 3 values here. Eventually, will become 1, 2, 3, 3. This is the final reorder array, which means that we have done moving all the maximum value 3 to the end of the array. All right, so this shows us that how can we write the flow basically. The first one is that we know we have to find the maximum first, correct? I know that I have to find the maximum, and then the maximum is equal to 3. Then after that, I will check every element in this array from the beginning. I will check the first value, which is 2, and then I will check the second value, which is 3, and then I will check the third value, which is 1. So I will traverse each value in this array from the beginning. The third case. So this is the checking that we have to do for each element in this array. If the value is maximum, remember I say that we don't push it to the front, we just remain the value. So that's why the current value remains. But if let's say the value is not the maximum value. If the value is not maximum, I say, right, you have to push it to the front. But where you should push it to? You should push it to the position where the next occurrence of the non-maximum value will be placed. So for this case, just now, I push it to the first position, the position 0. After that, I push the second non-maximum value to the position 1 here. Okay, so you can see that actually this position, right, is going to increasing the position plus 1. I push the first value, first non-maximum value to the position 0. The next non-maximum value, I will push it to the position 1. That's why we have position plus 1 here. Okay, so now you know how to move the maximum value to the end of the array. We just can apply the similar approach to move the minimum value to the beginning of the array. So how can we do that? We try to use the same example here. Okay, at the first thing, of course, I have to find what is the minimum first. 2, 1, 3, of course, the value is 1, right? So the value is 1, then after that, I will check each element. I will traverse each value in this array. So for this case, if let's say you want to move the minimum value to the beginning of the array, you have to do the checking starting from the end of the array. Why? Because you will check the value starting from 3 and then 1 and then 2. If let's say this is not the minimum, I will just push it to the back. So at the end, it will be the minimum value at the beginning of the array. Okay, so right now, let us try to check each value here. We check from starting from the last element, A2 here. A2 is 3. Of course, it is not the minimum. It's not equal to 1. I know that I should push it to the back. I should push it to the position where the non-minimum value will be placed, which is position 2 here. Correct? And then after that, I will check the second value. The second value, A1 is equal to 1. It is the minimum value. We just remain it. Then we will check the first element this time. A0 is equal to 2. It is not equal to 1. It is not the minimum value. Again, I should push it to the back. So where should I push it to? I should push it to the position where the next occurrence of the non-minimum value will be placed, which is position 1, this part here, this position, right? So if I push 2 to this position, again, I have to swap the value because you are not moving into a blank position. There is a value here. You have to swap the value with it. So 2 will swap to this position 1 and 1 will swap to the position 0 here. Correct? So eventually, the reorder array content should be 1, 2, 3. You see, we have done moving the maximum value to the end of the array. We have done moving the minimum value to the beginning of the array. So let us look at the last flow here. The last step here. If let's say we detect that the value is equal to the minimum, we just don't touch it. I don't push it to the back. So that's why the current value will just remains. Okay. And then after that, if let's say the value is not equal to the minimum, I know, right? If it is not minimum, I just want to push it to the back. So I will push it to the position where the next occurrence of the non-minimum value will be placed. And then I just swapped the value at that position. Like just now, I swapped 1 with the 2 here, right? And then why I put a position -1 here? Because initially, I will place the first non-minimum value, which is 3, at this position 2. And then after that, I will place the second non-minimum value, which is 2, at this position 1. So you can see that the position is actually -1. All right? Okay. After that, we can proceed to look at the code. Okay, so this is the code, the suggested solution for this sample 1 here. The first step is that, of course, we need to take in the array size from the user. So that's why we put the C in X here. This one is used to get the array size, and then the X is representing the array size. Okay, and then the next line here, it is trying to initialize an array with this array size with this X size here. So we create an array with the size X. Then after that, we will need to store all the values in this array, right? So how can we store all the values in this array? Usually we will use the for loop. Why? Because for the for loop here, you can see that this is the variable, the I here, right? The variable that will control the for loop here. So the I will start from 0. And then after that, I less than X, which means that I will be 0, 1, 2, until the last value, which is X -1. So this is the same thing. If let's say my X is equal to 3, it will try to store the value A. This is ARR, my array name, for ARR0, ARR1, ARR2. All right. So that's why it will store all the elements in this array with the index number start from 0 until X -1. So this is the first part when you try to initialize an array. After that, remember the first step, we need to find the maximum or the minimum first. Then only we can proceed to check every element in this array, then proceed to do the checking for each value. So for this case, this part here is used to find the maximum and also the minimum value of this array, so that later on we can use them for checking purpose. All right, then we move on. Okay, so this one here, that is a swap function, okay? Because just now I know I want to push those non-maximum value to the front. I want to push those non-minimum value to the back, right? And then once you're done moving the value to the position, I have to swap them with the value in that position. So how to swap the two values? This is a function that you may include in your solution. How can we do that? Basically, the idea is, let's say I have passed down two values here. T1 equal to 1, T2 equal to 3. All right. So after I done swapping, I know that the T1, it should change to be to take the value of 3, and then the T2 should change to take the value of 1. This is the final value that I want to get, right? But how can we do the swapping? So for this case, usually when you want to do the swapping, you have to declare a temporary variable for it. So this is a TMP. It's actually like a short abbreviation for the temporary variable. I just declare a variable to represent the temporary variable here. So I'm going to use this TMP, the temporary variable here, to store the value of T1. Okay, I will store the 1 here in this TMP. So TMP right now will store the value of 1. After that, I will store the value of T2 in this T1. So eventually T1, it will change, like it will be updated. Okay, it will be updated to take the value of 3. All right. And then after that, I will change to store the value of TMP in this T2 here. So just now, I know that the TMP value that we have is 1, and then I will change it to store in T2. So T2 right now is equal to 1. So you see, eventually, I have changed the value of T1 from 1 to 3. I have changed the value of T2 from 3 to 1 here. All right. So this is a function that you can use for the swapping purpose. And then why we put the reference parameter here, this reference parameter is used to actually pass back the value. So I will pass back T1 with the new value of 3 and then T2 with the new value of 1. All right. Then we move on. Okay. So this first part here is used to move the maximum value to the end of the array. And then this second part here is used to move the minimum value to the beginning of the array. So we try to look at the first part. The first thing is, of course, I have to traverse each element in this array, right? I have to check every value in this array. So usually how we check every value in this array, we will use the for loop, right? Because it will start with the array 0 until array x minus 1. So we use a for loop to iterate each element in this array. All right. Then the next thing is that we do the checking for each value. So for each value, I say before, when it is the maximum, we don't touch it. We don't move it to the front. So that's why I didn't put any checking condition when the array I is equal to maximum. Because we didn't touch it means that we don't need to do anything. I don't need to perform the checking for that. But how if, let's say, the value is not equal to the maximum? So if it is not equal to the maximum, we know that we should push the value to the front. Okay, I should push it to the position where the occurrence of the non-maximum value will be placed, push it to the front. So for this case, I push it to the front, I have to swap the value, swap with the value at that position, right? That's why we have to perform the swap function here. The value, this one, is actually our ARRI, our current value that we are checking. Then after that, the value at the position where the next occurrence of the non-maximum value will be placed, okay, the position that we want to move to it, and then the value at that position, this is the ARR index here. So what is the index? The index is actually point to the position where we should place the non-maximum value. Okay, we use the index to represent that. That's why we have to swap these two values, and we use this swap function to help us. Okay, after we done swapping the value, remember that for the maximum case, we have to plus the position with +1, right? So we need to put index ++ here, which means the position where the next occurrence of the non-maximum value, it will be updated to the next position. All right, then move on. We try to look at the second part. Again, I want to check all elements in this array to move the minimum value to the beginning of the array. Then I say for the minimum, we have to check the elements starting from the end of the array to the beginning, right? That's why you can see the index here, I starting from x minus 1 to 0. We'll check starting from the last element and then to the first element. Okay, so if let's say the value is equal to the minimum, the value will remain. So I didn't put any checking condition when ARRI is equal to minimum. What we need to do is that when the value is not equal to the minimum, I just want to push it to the back, right? So for this case, the current value here, again, this is our ARRI, this part. Okay, and then after that, how about the value at the position where the next occurrence of the non-minimum value be placed? This one should be our ARR index 2, this one. So this index 2 is pointing to the position where the non-minimum value will be placed. Okay, and then we just swapped these two values. Then again, for minimum case, because the position will be -1, right? So that's why we put index 2 minus minus here. We need to keep on updating the position to actually move it to the front, to the previous position. All right. So after we have done moving the maximum value to the end of the array, we've done moving the minimum value to the beginning of the array. All the remaining elements, they were just being placed between the minimum and maximum. So what we can do is that we just use the for loop to print out all the elements in this array. So we use a for loop starting from 0 to x minus 1, the last value of I. And then after that, we just print out the ARRI, all the elements in this array. Okay, so this is the first suggested solution of the sample 1. Okay, so this is just the first sample questions for the final competitions. Usually for final competitions, if you have, like when you try to submit the solution, submit your program in the system, right? If let's say your answer is wrong, then it could have, like your mark could be deducted. But for prelim case, no marks will be deducted for the wrong output. Okay. All right, so move on. We'll proceed to the sample 2. For sample 2, it's going to be another question, and then the question name is sum of 24. So I'm going to read this question first. Given an array of n integers where n is between 2 to 8, it is known that there is one and only one combination of these integers that can be summed up to a total of 24. Okay, for example, if let's say the array given to us is 1, 12, 32, 11, then the only combinations that can sum up to 24 will be 1, 11, 12. When you try to sum them, 1 plus 11 plus 12. Wait for a moment. Okay. Okay, because it can detect my drawing here. Just wait for a moment. All right, it's working. Okay, so if you sum up all these three values, we know that it should be equal to 24. All right, so find such a combination from a given array and displays the numbers in the combination in ascending order, which means that when you are given the original array, which is 1, 12, 32, 11 here, we know that 1, 12, 11, this is the combinations that can sum up to the value of 24. But the question asks you, besides finding this combination, we also need to display the numbers in the ascending order. So it should be 1, 11, 12. This is the final answer that this question wants, right? So let's try to look at the input and output of this program. The first input is that the first integer is n. So this is the first input, indicate the number of integers in the array, and subsequently the n integers in the array. For example, we try to look at the first test case here. Okay, so if let's say the n is equal to 6, then the program, it would expect that the next input will be 6 integers. So we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 integers here. Okay, and then after that, the program will output in sequence the combinations of integers from the given array that are summed up to 24. Okay, note that you need to sort the output integers in ascending order. So if we look at the first test cases here, we know that 6, 12, 6, then if we try to sum up all these three values here, the 6, 12, 6 here, and then it will sum up to the value of 24. But because we have to sort the integers in ascending order, right? So we have to display the output here, which is 6, 6, 12. Okay, and then I can also discuss the last test case with you. If let's say the n here is equal to 8, then we can see that there are 8 values here. And then after that, we'll find what numbers that can sum up to 24, and then we know that it should be 15 and 9. Okay, the value is 15 and 9 that can sum up to 24, but we have to show the output in ascending order. So it should be 9, 15 here. Okay, so I mean, like after this workshop, if you have time, you can just go to check for the second, third, fourth case, whether the outputs are correct or not. Okay, then we should try to check how can we write the solution. How can we think of the solution to solve this question? Again, I try to use a simple example to show you how the solution works for this case. Okay, so let's say we try to think of a simple example here, and then my n here is equal to 3, because you can see that we just have these 3 elements in this array, right? 2, 22, 1 here. Okay, and then they want you to find any combinations out of these 3 numbers that can sum up to 24. For this case, if let's say someone asks you this question, obviously you will know that, okay, that will just be one combination, 2 plus 22 equal to 24. But now the question is, how can you write a program to find out the combination that can sum up to 24? We have to think of how the program is going to work to find the correct combination for us, right? Then we try to look at this part here, okay? Usually how we know that there is the combinations, for example, 2 and 22 that can sum up to 24. This is the part that we will do it manually. Usually we'll find, let's say, if I didn't take any value, the sum is 0, okay? Or if let's say I take out the first value 2 here, the sum is 2. Or if I take the second value 22, the sum is 22. Or if I take the third value 1 here, the sum is 1. Or I can sum the first 2 values, 2 plus 22 get 24, or I sum the last 2 values, 22 plus 1 we get 23, or I sum the first and the last, which is 2 plus 1 we get a sum of 3. Or I just sum all these 3 values that we get 25 here. Okay, so these are all the possible combinations that we can find different sum. This is the only 8 combinations belong to this array numbers. We can't find other combinations already. This is all the possible, the existing combination of the numbers. So we can check the sum here. Then we can see that only one combination that will result in the value of 24 for us, and the combination of the number includes 2 and 22. All right, okay. Then after that, how can we find out this combination actually? For this case, let me try to introduce to you a binary representation here. I will try to discuss about the solution here. Later, I will discuss with you, I will explain to you why we need to use this binary representation instead of using this direct combination of the direct approach of finding the combination of numbers. Okay, let's try to look at the right-hand side part first. Let's say for this case, just now, I know that my n is equal to 3, right? Because we have 3 values in this array. Then I want you to check what is the value between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. This one means that my first value is 0. My last value should be 2 power n. So my n is 3, so 2 power 3 minus 1, which is equal to 7 here. So I'm going to find each value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will find the binary representation for each of these numbers. What is the binary representation? You can try to Google it. Basically, if you don't know about that, binary representation is actually numbers that a string of the numbers. Basically, it will use either 0 or 1 only to represent the number. For example, if you look at the calculation at the right hand side here, the last digit should be 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, so on and so forth. So when the value is 0, it can be represented by 0, 0, 0. When the value is 1, it can be represented by 0, 0, 1. When the value is 2, the binary representation should be 0, 1, 0, because one of these 2 power 1, which is 2 here. Okay, and then when the value is 4, it can be represented by 1, 0, 0, because this is something similar to 2 power 2. When the value is 3, the binary representation is 0, 1, 1, which is 2 power 1 plus 2 power 0, we get 3. When the value is 6, the binary representation is 1, 1, 0, because 2 power 2 plus 2 power 1, which is 6. When the value is 5, the binary representation is 1, 0, 1. This is 2 power 2 plus 2 power 0. When the value is 7, the binary representation is 1, 1, 1, which is 2 power 2 plus 2 power 1 plus 2 power 0, which is equal to 7 here. Okay, so you can see that I try to find all the values between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. I will try to find what is their binary representation. Then, after that, I try to reverse this binary representation. Reverse means that if, let's say, 0, 0, 0, it will still remain as 0, 0, 0. But if we have 0, 0, 1, once you're done reversing it, it will become 1, 0, 0. 0, 1, 0, you're done reversing it, it will still seem to be 0, 1, 0 because it is symmetric, right? And 1, 0, 0, you're done reversing it, it will become 0, 0, 1. After that, I reverse 0, 1, 1, it will become 1, 1, 0. I reverse 1, 1, 0, it will become 0, 1, 1. I reverse 1, 0, 1, it will still be 1, 0, 1. I reverse 1, 1, 1, it will still be 1, 1, 1 here. So you see, the first step is I will find what is the binary representation. After that, I will move on to reverse this binary representation. So why I want to reverse it? Because, can you see that here? This one here will point to the value that I want to include in that combination. This one here, I will point to the second value. This one here, I will point to the third value. Or this, the first two one here, I will point to the first two value. The last two one here, I will point to the last two value. And then the first and the last one, I will point to the first and the last value. And then all the one here, I will just point to all the values that I need to include in this combination. So in another word, it means that 0 will point to exclusion of the value. Exclusion means what? I didn't include the value. You can see that 0 will point to the x here. Okay, and then 1 here will point to inclusion of the value. I know that the 1 here, it will point to the value that I need to include in the combination to find the sum. Right? Okay, then move on. We'll move to the next slide here. This is the explanation of why we need to use this reverse binary representation rather than we use the direct approach of finding the combination of numbers. The first one, just now we know that the binary digits 1 or 0, 1 will point to the inclusion of the value. We know that I want to include, for this case, I want to include 2 to find the sum, which is 2 here. Okay, and then 0 means that I don't include the value, it just points to the exclusion of the value. This is the one that we have understood just now. Then after that, what about the memory efficiency? Let's say we try to think of the direct approach. You want to find the combinations of the numbers. There are 8 combinations here, of course. Then we have to store all this subset right in the array, correct? For example, the subset of 2, 22, 1, 2, 22, 22 and 1, or 2 and 1, or 2 and 22 and 1. Okay, so imagine that if you want to store all this subset in the array, it will actually consume extensive memory. Then if let's say for this case here, our n is 3, we know that we need to store 8 subsets in the array. But how if let's say our n is equal to 10 or 11? It's going to be 2 power 10 or 2 power 11, right? So you can see that the memory that we consume will actually grow exponentially with the input size. So it's going to use pretty much memory, correct? But when you look at this binary approach here, the reverse binary representation, we just need to find what is the value between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. We just find their respective binary representations, and then we can point to the value that we want to include in the combination. So this binary approach, it will just use a fixed memory because it will just store 0 or 1 instead of storing all the large numbers, all the values here. So it's going to be more efficient. Okay. Then after that, we try to look at the third advantage, the single loop computation. Because for this case, when you use the binary approach, you just need to use, like, for example, a for loop, right? The for loop to iterate between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. We just use a single loop to actually compute all the subset or the possible combinations of the numbers. But if you want to consider the direct approach, I want to store all these values here, other combinations of numbers here, you have to include the nesting or recursion that is going to slow down your calculation already. Okay, so I hope this slide can explain well to you why we need to use this binary representation instead of the direct approach to find all the possible combinations of the numbers. Okay, move on, we'll proceed to the solution flow here. The first one, of course, is that we have to find what is the value between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. Remember that. And then we have to find the binary representation of it. Why? It means that we'll use this binary representation to represent all the possible combinations of the input numbers. I know that if let's say 1, it will point to the included value, 0, I will point to the exclusion of the value. So we actually use the binary representation to generate the possible combination of the numbers. But don't forget that we have to reverse this binary representation. All right. Then the second part is that we will use the 1 bits to determine the included numbers. This one, I will point to the first value. Then after that, we'll find their respective sum for each combination. Okay. Then the third step, we have to check, is there any combination that sum up to 24? If yes, we have to sort the numbers in ascending order because we need to print out the values in ascending order, right? So this is a flow. Okay. The flow will be find out the possible combinations of numbers using binary representation first, and then reverse it. And then after that, use the 1 bits here to determine the included numbers, find out the sum, and then print out the values that were sum up to 24. This is the correct flow then. All right. Then I will move on to discuss about the suggested solution. This is the C++ code, okay, that we can use it to solve the sample 2 question. All right. So of course, the first thing is that we need to get the array size. This number of inputs here, this is the array size. Then again, we just try to declare an array with the size of number of inputs. So this data here is the array name. Data is our array name. Okay, I put it here. Then after that, I want to store every values in this array. Of course, we are going to use a for loop. right? Starting from 0 until the size -1. And then we try to use a cin to read in each value in this array that are here. So this is the same first step. The array initialization, actually, we use the same, I would like say that the similar code if you compare to the sample one solution. After that, we have to, what we need to do, remember that we get the value of 0 to 2 power n minus 1. And after that, we generate the binary representation and reverse it, right? So you can see I have a for loop here because it will iterate every value between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. So you can see that the start value is 0. And then I less than power of 2 number of inputs. Let's say I just use the n to represent the number of inputs here. So which means the last value should be 2 power n minus 1, correct? It will just iterate all the I value between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. Then we have to find out the binary representation. So actually you can use this line here to actually convert all this value to binary representation, basically to this binary representation, the string. All right. And then after that, don't forget that we have to reverse the binary representation. You can use this line to help you. Reverse binary.begin and binary.end, which means that it will reverse the whole string and that it will result for you. Okay. Then for each binary representation string, we have to check, is there any 1 bits that will determine the included numbers, right? So that's why for each string, because I showed the code like half of them in the first slide and then half of them in this second slide, right? So I just want to put a comment here. This one is that for every string, then we will check the 1 bits in each string. Okay, so for this case, why it will put j equal to 0, j less than number of inputs. What it means. This one means that j equal to 0 until the last value, which is n minus 1. For example, just now, we know that, for example, I used the same example 2, 22, and 1 here. We know the sample size n is equal to 3, right? And then after that, what it means here is that j equal to 0 until n minus 1, which means until 2 only, because 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So what it means is that if, let's say, you have 3 values, you will just need 3 the binary values here to represent all the numbers between 0 to 2 power n minus 1. For example, just now, when we look at here, this one, we know that we just need until 111. This is the largest value that will represent the final combination, right? So eventually we will just need 3 bits to represent each of this combination here. That's why we have j equal to 0 until j equal to 2, this one. So it means that we will check every value in this string. If let's say your n is equal to 4, which means that you will need 4 bits to represent, to generate all the possible combinations. All right, okay. So for this case, if let's say for each string, I will check each value in the string. So if let's say binary j is equal to 1, which means that if there is given a string here, if one of them is 1, I know that I should include the value in the combination. So that's why we put total plus equal to data j, right? So it will point to the first value in the array, which is 2. This is the one that we will get it. We will try to sum this 2 to the total. So plus equal is actually same as total equal to total plus data j, okay? So I will use the binary j to represent, to actually refer to the data j. All right, after that, what we need to do is that since we try to add this value to the sum, right? Then we need to store this value in the answer vector. So how can you store the value in the answer vector? You can just use the answer.pushback, means that we try to store the value in this answer vector here. Okay, so if let's say we have 1, 0, 1, for example, this case here, it means that I will store 2 and 1 in this answer vector. This is the idea. I use the 1 to refer to the data value, which is 2. I use the 1 here to refer to the value, which is the 1, which is the one of the numbers in this data right here. And then I just store this both 2 values, 2 and 1 in this answer vector. All right. And then the next thing is that I will check. If let's say the sum is 24, I need to print out the values, right? The values of the combinations that can sum up to 24. So for this case, if total equal to 24, don't forget that we have to show the answer in ascending order. So before we try to print it out, we need to sort first. I sort answer.begin, answer.end, which means that I will try to sort the values inside this answer vector. For example, this one will become 1, 2. Okay, I sort it first and then only I print out the values in this answer vector. How can I print out every values in this answer vector? We use a for loop again. K equals 0, k less than the answer.size. Because when the size is 2, it will just print out answer 0, answer 1. Okay, and then print out the answer k here. Okay, so we have done for this sample 2. It means that for back to the previous slide, we try to find out the binary representation for each combination first. We reverse it. And then for each binary representation, I will use the 1 to find out the numbers that we should include in the combination. And then I will store the numbers that we include in the answer vector. So if let's say the sum is 24, I know that I want to print out all the values in this answer vector, right? But we need to sort them in ascending order first, then only can do the printing. Okay, so this is the suggested solution for sample 2. Move on, we will proceed to the sample 3. Okay, so the sample 3 here, the question name is taking the train is going to be an interesting question. Okay, so Dina takes the train to work every day from the main street station to the city center station. There are 2 trains she can take, the red train or the blue train. So both trains start operating at 8 a.m. A red train arrives every X minutes and a blue train arrives every Y minutes, where X and Y are both positive integers. All right. So Dina always arrives at the station after Z minutes past 8 a.m. but before 9 a.m. And then she gets on the first train arriving at the station. However, if both trains arrive simultaneously, then Dina will get on the train with relatively lower frequency. So write a program to find out which train Dina is taking more often. So this is the question here, and then let us try to use an example to understand how, which train that Dina would take at that moment. Okay, so basically we will take in 3 inputs from the user, the X, the Y, and the Z. So the X is the arrival time of the red train. The Y here is the arrival time of the blue train. And then the Z will be the Dina arrival time, the Z minutes after 8 a.m. Okay, so it means that the red train will arrive every 2 minutes, blue train will arrive every 3 minutes. Dina will only arrive, for example, this is 8 a.m., this is 9 a.m. Dina will arrive at 6 minutes after 8 a.m. This is the case. Okay, so if let's say she arrived between 8:06 and 8:08, so it means that she will just take the red train that arrives at 8:08. If Dina arrives between 8:08 and 8:09, she will take the blue train that arrived at 8:09. If Dina arrives between X09 and X010, of course, because you know at 8:10 the red train will arrive, so Dina will take the red train. But how if Dina arrive at the station between 8:10 and 8:12? So at 8:12, we know that both trains, red train and blue train, both of them will arrive at this time, right? So which train Dina will choose? Basically, Dina will choose the blue train because it is less frequent than the red train. We can see that just now. For this case here, the first one, this is if we try to draw it, just give me a moment. Okay, let me have a line here. Right. So Dina will reach at the station after X06, right? So the next train arrival time is 8:08. If Dina arrive at the station within this period, she will take the red train. Okay, and then this is going to be 2 minutes, right? And then after that, if let's say the next train arrival time should be 8:09, the blue train. So if Dina arrive at within this period here, Dina will take blue train. With the B here, the duration is 1 minute. And then after that, the next train arrival time is 8:10. If Dina arrives at this station within this period, she will take the red train. So the duration will be 1. Anytime that she arrives at this station, she will just take the red train that arrive at 8:10 here. Then after that, at 8:12, both trains arrive. Then which train she actually will take? So you can see that the red train, the total duration of the red train usage is 3. The total duration of the blue train is 1. So of course, Dina would take the train with lower frequency of use. Okay, so that's why at this moment here, Dina would take the blue train. The duration is 2 here. Okay, so since the arrival times of both trains are periodic with a period of 6 minutes, the rest of the calculation can be omitted in this example. From the above, in conclusion, Dina is taking both trains equally often. Why? Because when you try to sum these two, 2 plus 1 equal to 3, the second one, 1 plus 2 equal to 3, which means that Dina would take both red or blue train equally often. Okay? Okay, so right now, we move on to the next slide to see what is the program input or output. The first input will be 2 positive integers, x or y. So the x is not equal to y, and x and y is between 1 to 100. We know that the x is the red train arrival time, the y is the blue train arrival time. And one positive real number, z, where z is between 0 to 60. So the z here means what? The time that Dina arrived after 8 a.m. Okay, so the program output is that if Dina takes the red train more frequently, it should output red. If Dina takes the blue train more frequently, then it should output blue. If Dina takes both trains equally often, then the output should be equal. So we look at the first test case. This is the one that we discussed just now. We know that Dina will take both trains equally often, so the result should be equal. And then I can use the last test case here to explain to you. So for this case means that the x is 58, the y is 59, the z is 57.5. Then we can try to draw it. Okay, so Dina will reach at 8:57.5 for this case. Okay, and then after that, before the 9 a.m. So the next train arrival time should be 8:58. We know that at this moment here, Dina will take the red train, 0.5 here. Then the next train arrival time is 8:59. If let's say Dina arrive at the station within this period here, it will take she will take the blue train, the B, which is 1. Okay, then after that, how about if let's say Dina actually arrived at the station between 8:59 and 9 here. So which train that she will take it? So we know that actually the next train that will arrive at the station should be the red train first, right? So that's why she will take the red train with the period of 1. So eventually the total red train usage is 1.5. The total duration of the blue train usage is 1. That's why Dina would take the red train more often. Then you can see that the output is red here. All right. So you can try the remaining test cases after this workshop. Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to look at the solution. So I want you to look at the first part first. This is basically what I'm drawing is that the train arrival time. We know that we just care about between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and Dina will arrive at the station that minutes after 8 a.m. Okay, so I have put in the red blocks here. This red block is representing the arrival time of the red train. I also put in the blue blocks here. The blue block here is representing the arrival time of the blue train. So what we care about is that, before Dina actually arrived at this station here, she won't take any train, right? Because she not yet arrived at this station. So that's why I put the block invisible here, not invisible, it should be transparent block because I don't care about what train she will use because she won't use that because she not yet arrived at the station. So what we need to do is that I will just erase this one. Then what we care is that what is the frequency of use of both trains at this moment here? I will just check what is the total duration of the red train usage in this period versus the total duration of the blue train usage in this period. So if let's say Dina use red train more, we just output red. If Dina use blue train more, we just output blue. If Dina use both trains equally often, then we just output equal. All right, so we just care about this period only. Okay, so there are a few scenarios that our solution needs to consider. The first scenario is that only red train arrive at the station. So when there is only red train arrive, of course, Dina will just take the red train, right? That's why you can see that if let's say Dina actually arrived at the red station within this period, that she would take this red train here, this part. If Dina arrived at the station within this period, she will take the red train as well. If Dina arrives station at within this period, she will take the red train at this moment here. All right. So we have to update the total duration of the red train usage. For this case, how can we add it up? We just add all these 3 periods here. So it's going to be the red train arrival time minus the last train arrival time. Okay, so eventually we just sum all these values here, these 3 duration, it will be the total red train usage by Dina at this time, like at this period. Okay, then we consider the second scenario. For the second scenario is that there is only 1 train arriving at the station, which is the blue train. So if let's say Dina arrives at the station within this period, she would take the blue train. Or Dina arrives at the station within this period, she will take the blue train as well. Or Dina arrives at the station within this period, she will take the blue train as well. So we have to sum all this duration, right? So we will update the total blue train usage, which is total blue train usage plus equal to the blue train arrival time, this one, minus the last train arrival time. Okay, so in another word, it means I will just try to sum all these 3 durations here. Okay, so this is the first 2 scenarios that we consider there will be only 1 train arriving at the station. How about the next scenario here? If let's say both red or blue trains they arrive at the same time. So that's why I put both blocks here together. Okay, so when Dina arrived at the station, then she found that actually both trains will arrive next at the same time. So which train Dina should choose, right? And then just now the question stated that Dina would take the train with a lower frequency of use. So at this part here, we have to check which train that Dina has a lower frequency of use. We can check here. If let's say the first one, this is just an example given to you to illustrate to you how can we deal with this kind of the scenario. For example, this case here, this is the total red train usage, okay? And then this is the blue train usage, all right? And then once we compare, we know that the total red train usage is not equal to the total blue train usage. Then we know Dina will pick the train with a lower frequency of use, which is blue train for this particular scenario. So that's why the next one here, she will just pick the blue train. Okay, so of course we have to update the total blue train usage afterwards. If let's say we have for example, the red train usage is actually smaller than the blue train usage, then Dina will pick the red train then. All right, so if both trains arrive at the station at the same time, Dina will tend to choose the train with a lower frequency of use. But we still have one possible conditions that we need to consider is that how if both trains arrive at the same time, both trains have the same frequency of usage. For example, I put here total red train usage, the R here, is equal to the total blue train usage, the B here. Okay, so for this case, again, Dina would choose the train with a lower count of the services available. So we can see that red train just have 2 services, and then the blue trains has 3 services. So of course, Dina would choose the red train. That's why Dina would choose the red train here. So we have to update the total red train usage. Okay, so this is our scenarios, and then I have summarized this scenario here. The first thing is that your program need to check the periodic time of only red train arriving at the station. For example, we know that the red train will arrive at every X minutes, right? So you have to check the X here, 2X, 3X, 4X, which means that you have to check every time when there is only red train arriving at the station. Then after that, you have to update the total red train usage. Okay, then the second flow is that, the second step is that you have to check the periodic time of only blue train arriving at the station. So we know that the blue train will arrive at the station at every Y minutes. So you have to check Y, 2Y, 3Y, 4Y, 5Y, so on and so forth. And then after that, we need to update the total blue train usage. Okay, so at this moment here, we can see that we will check 2X, because we will check the increasing time, right? So we will check 2X, 3Y, 3X, 4Y, 5Y, 4X, so on and so forth. Then the last one, we will need to check the periodic time of both trains arriving at the station. When both X and Y, not X and Y, the blue and also the red trains, both of them arrive at the station at the same time, then we know there is some conditions for us to do the checking. The first one is that if both trains have different duration of the usage, we know that we should pick the train with a lower frequency of use, correct? But how if, let's say, both trains arrive at the same time and then both trains has the same frequency of the usage? We will check based on the number of the services available. So if the train, let's say the red train has fewer services available, then we will choose the red train. Okay, so this is the scenarios that we have discussed just now, but there is one problem right now. How can I find the the periodic time of both trains arriving at the station. We can use something called the LCM. The LCM actually referring to lowest common multiple. Okay, so what is the lowest common multiple? Just now, for example, I used the simple example just now, x equal to 2 and y equal to 3. So what is the lowest common multiple of this xy? We know that the LCM is equal to 6, right? 6 can be divided by 2 and 6 can be divided by 3. This is so-called the multiple of both x and y, and this is the lowest multiple of it. Okay, so this is the time where both trains arrive at the station. We know that both of them, they will arrive at the station at every 6 minutes. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, so on and so forth until the last one, 60. Okay, so this is so-called the LCM. All right, so after that, I will proceed to discuss the suggested solution for the sample tree. The first thing that we need to do is that, of course, we need to get the inputs for the x, y, or z. The x is referring to the arrival time of the red train. The y is the arrival time of the blue train. The z is the dinar arrival time, right? The z means after 8 a.m. Then after that, we need to check the periodic time of both trains arriving at the station. So we have to find the LCM. Correct? So we have to use the LCM to determine the periodic time of both trains arriving at the station. So how can we find the LCM? This is the formula used to find the LCM. Basically, you have to multiply the two values. For this case should be x, y. Okay, you have to multiply them. And then you have to divide by the GCD, xy. What is the GCD? The greatest common divisor. All right. So for this case, you just have to find what is the greatest common divisor between x and y, and then after that, put it in. Then you can find the lowest common multiple of the x and y, LCM of x and y. Okay. So this is used to determine the periodic time of both trains arriving at the station. Okay. After that, we will check, right? We have few things to check here. Before that, I want you to look at these 3 lines first. I will discuss step by step. The first thing is T is a time, which means like the arrival time of the train is equal to the minimum of T1 times X, T2 times Y. So just now, we know that the X is the arrival time of the red train. And then the Y here is representing the arrival time of the blue train, right? So how about the T1 here? T1 is the number of times that the red train will arrive. And then for T2 is the number of times that the blue train will arrive. Okay, you can count. For example, the red train will arrive at every X minutes, X, 2X, 2X, 3X, 4X. And then after that, the blue train will arrive at every Y minutes. So it's going to be Y, 2Y, 3Y, 4Y. So why we want to use a T equal to minimum here is that I will check every time either red or blue train arrive. X, Y, 2X, 2Y, 3X, 3Y, 4X, 4Y. This is the first statement used to do the checking for every arrival time of the blue or the red train. Okay, and then after that, why I put the checking condition here? If T modulus X equal to 0, T1 plus plus, this means that if the current arrival time, the train arrival time modulus X equal to 0, this means the red train arrives here. Okay, because the train arrival time modulus X equal to 0, it could be X, 2X, 3X, 4X. So that's why when you do the division, the remainder is 0. It actually indicates that the red train is arriving, right? So why we put the T1 plus plus, this is used to find the next arrival time of the red train, okay? Same thing goes to the next statement here, T modulus Y equal to 0. This is representing that the blue train, spelled wrongly here. Just now is a red train. The second one is that the blue train arrives. Okay, so if the blue train arrives, then I want to find the next arrival time of the blue train. That's why I put T2 plus plus here. So after that, if T less than Z continue, because we didn't care about the duration of the train usage before Dina's arrival time. So that's why we just continue, means that we'll just skip all the checking here. Okay, then after that, we try to put in the scenario. So the first one, remember, I just care about there is only one red train arriving at the station. So we can see here, when T modulus X equal to 0, this means that only red train arriving at the station, okay? And then if let's say only red train arrives at the station, Dina will take the red train, right? That's why we will put the sum 1 here. Sum 1 is referring to the total duration of the red train usage. So sum 1 equal plus equal. Remember just now I say that the T is the red train arrival time minus last, which is the last train arrival time. So I just move the calculation here. Okay, then why I have a checking condition before it? If T greater or equal to threshold, T equal to threshold. Because just now I say before that we just care about the Z minutes after 8 and 9 here. So anytime arrival time that is greater than 9, I won't care about the duration within this period, but I will just care about the duration before 9. So that's why I have set the threshold to be 60. I will let the maximum value of the time that we are going to consider is 60 at this 9 a.m. Okay. All right. And then after that, we have the second scenario here. If let's say T modulus Y equal to 0, which means that only blue train arrives at the station. So we have to update the total duration of the blue train usage. That's why you can see that I put sum 2 here. The sum 2 is representing the total duration of the blue train usage. All right, okay. Then after that, we have to consider the third scenario when both trains arriving at the station. So we go back to here. You can see that we put T modulus LCM equal to 0. It means that we have the LCM, 2 LCM, 3 LCM, 4 LCM every time when both trains arriving at the station. So I can put a comment for you. It should be red and blue train arrive at the station at the same time. Okay, so for this case, we know if let's say both trains arriving at the same arrive at the station at the same time, we have to pick the train with a lower frequency of usage, right? So for this case here, we will check if let's say the red train usage is greater than the blue train usage, we have to pick the blue train. That's why we update the sum 2. Else, if let's say the blue train usage is greater than the red train usage, we have to use a red train. So we update the sum 1. Okay, then how about the remaining case here? If let's say both trains arrive at the station at the same time, and then both the red train or the blue train usage, they happen to be same, right? Then we will check the number of the services available, right? So remember just now, T1 is representing the number of times the red train arrived at the station, and T2 will be the number of times the blue train arrived at the station. So we check from here, if let's say T1 red train has actually more services available compared to the blue train, we will use a blue train. So we update sum 2. Or if let's say the blue train is actually having the more services available compared to the rate train, we'll use a rate train. So we update the sum one. Then we have the, I can't call it as the worst case scenario, maybe it's the best case scenario. So how if, let's say, both trains arrive at the station at the same time, both trains have the same frequency of the usage, and both trains have the same number of the services available, then we know that it's just half chance that Dina would take either red or blue train. So that's why we need to update both the red train and use the blue train usage, but we just need to divide the time by 2 here. Okay, so you can say that we have considered all these 3 scenarios here. Okay, I have actually explained to you each part of the code here. And after that, lastly, don't forget to print out which train that Dina takes more frequently. So we just compare. If let's say the red train usage is equal to the blue train usage, and then we just print out equal, means that Dina takes both trains equally often. Okay, and then if let's say the red train usage greater than the blue train usage, we just print out red. Else, if blue train usage is actually higher, then we just print out blue. All right, so that's the suggested solution for sample 3. Okay, so actually, we have uploaded the questions that we will be discussed today on the website, the Domjot system. So you can try to use this link to access to the website. And then if you want to submit a solution to the question to see whether you are able to solve the question or not, just feel free to do it. And we have provided all these 4 accounts to you. If let's say you want to try it, then you can log in using this username or password, any one of these 4 accounts. Okay, so we will try to open the system until the midnight of today so that you can have whole day to try. And then basically I have done my session for this, the first session problem solving one. I just want to repeat again, because later on you are going to sit for the preliminary competition and also the final competition. So during the preliminary competitions, if let's say you submitted your solution but produced a wrong output for the questions, no penalty will be, no penalty will be applied, okay? But if let's say during the final competition, if let's say your solutions actually produce a wrong output, then there will be a penalty for the wrong submission, for the incorrect submission. Okay, so that's all for this first session, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
谢谢 Dr. Kang。同学们，我们休息大概2分钟再倒回来好吗？2到3分钟，就是10点35分了。好，下来就是到那个 Jasmina Dr. Jasmina 的那个请我们10点35分倒回来。好，谢谢。
Exabytes is Southeast Asia's leading cloud hosting provider since 2001, with 20 years of experience. But today, we are more than that. We power over 160,000 businesses worldwide, covering SMEs, government agencies, corporate companies, individuals, and more, offering domain name, web hosting, server, cloud, managed e-commerce, digital marketing, business solutions, marketing tools, and more. With our core values in mind, reliable, affordable, simplified, and advantage, using the power of technology to grow your business online. Exabytes, Southeast Asia's leading all-in-one business, cloud, digital, and e-commerce solution provider.
Exabytes, grow your business online.
Autocount.com Berhad is the leading business software solutions provider for small and medium enterprises, including multinational and public listed companies. The company possesses deep and broad experience in software development and is certified by ISO 27001:2013 to ensure that our products, services, and processes meet the highest information security management standards. Our suite of business application solutions is available for both on-premise and cloud-based deployments, giving our clients unparalleled flexibility.
各位同学，欢迎回到课堂上哈。那接下来我们也请Dr. Jasmina 继续讲解这个 problem solving 的课程。我们请Dr. Jasmina。
OK， 谢谢。Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the second session of the workshop 5. So for this session, session 2, we will focus on the past year question for preliminary competition and also grand final competition. So let me share my screen first. Okay, so before we start, maybe you can try to log into this demo system of the competition. So here we have the link and also for demo account. So you can try to log in, first. Maybe I will share this link and also the password in the chat of the Zoom. Okay, here we have the link. You can just click on the link and you can choose any demo account to log in. So after you log in, so you can see that here we have uploaded some of the question. So here we have question 1, question 2, and question 3. So this question already discussed by Dr. Keng. And I will discuss the question number 4, number 5, 6, and 7. So after each discussion, I will let you try the system. So this system is the same in your preliminary competition and also grand final competition. So you have to get use of it. So here we have the button of the submit. So later on, if you want to try the system, okay, before you try the system, you can download the question first. So let's say you want to do question 4. So you can just click on the question 4. This is the question. So for the question, we have the English version and also Chinese version. So if you prefer to read in Chinese, so you can just read the Chinese version. So it's the same. And we have sample output, input and output, so you can have a look. So you can have a look for each of the question. You can download it first. And if you prefer to read in Chinese version, then you can just read in Chinese version. So I will discuss in English version. So after you read the question and you try to solve the problem, if you want to submit, you can click on the submit button. So this is the submit button. So you can choose your source file. For your source file, it can be 3 languages only. So C language, C++ language, or Java language. So you can use this either one of the language to solve your problem. So we only accept these 3 languages. And then here you have to choose which problem that you are trying to solve. So you can choose the problem that you are trying to solve. Make sure you choose the correct one. So you have your source file, you have your problem selection, and you have to choose the language that you are using. So after that, you just click submit. After you click submit, you should be able to see your result here. So if you get correct, then it will give you the result of correct. If it's wrong, then it will give you the answer of wrong. So if you get wrong answer, you can try to resubmit again. So no penalty will be given for preliminary competition. But for final competition, if you have the wrong answer and you try to resubmit until you get the correct answer, then penalty will be given. So the penalty will be given in terms of duration of the time that you use to solve the problem. So this is about the system. So I think it's very easy to use. You have the question in PDF, so you just click on it and download. And then after you solve the solution using your own compiler, you can use your own compiler to solve the problem. Then you just click submit, upload the file, select the problem, select the language that you use, then click submit. That's all. Okay, so this is about the system. You can try to log in and try to download the question. Okay, so this is the question from the preliminary question from past year. So I will discuss 2 questions from preliminary competition and 2 from grand final competition. This is past year question. So I will just brief you how to solve the problem. So you have to read the problem very carefully. Okay, so for this question, this is about type and area of triangle. So you have to read line by line. So find the area of a triangle with the length of 3 sides and determine which of the following types that the triangle belongs to. So here we only have 3 types of the triangle. Scaling. So what is scaling triangle? Scaling triangle means that we have the triangle with the same length of 2 sides. So let's say this is side 1 and we have side 2 and we have side 3. So we have 2 lengths are the same. This is called scaling triangle. So in Chinese, we just scaling triangle is 不等边三角形. So should be different length. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Let me start again. So for this scaling, it means that 不等边三角形 means that we have 3 different sides of the length of the triangle. So each of the side of the triangle has different sides. So this is side 1, side 2, side 3. So each side we have different length. So this is scaling triangle. So for isosceles triangle means that this is 等边三角形. So this is the triangle with 2 sides same length. So this is scaling. this is isosceles. An equilateral triangle means that we have 等边三角形, means that 3 sides of the length are same. So we only have 3 types of the triangles: scaling, isosceles, and equilateral. Okay, so here you have to write a program. So it can be C++ program, C language, or Java. So either one. Okay, so what is the input? So for the input, you need to input 3 floating point values. Means that the value with decimal point. Means that you can just key in 4 point something. Let's say you want to have one side of the length with 4.3, then you just key in 4.3. If you want to have 4, then you just key in 4. So it can handle the value with floating point value. It can handle the value with decimal point. Okay, you just need to key in 3 lengths of the triangles. So side 1, side 2, and side 3. So this is the input. How about the output? For the output, you have to list out which type of the triangle it is. So if it's scaling triangle, you just list out. If it's isosceles triangle, you just list out, or it is equilateral triangle. So in the first line, so you have to follow the format of the output. Later on, I will show you the example of the output. And after that, for the second line, you have to display the area. And the area must be rounded to integer value. Means that the value without decimal point. You have to display a whole value. You have to round it to a whole value. So this is for second line. Okay, let's say if we have 3 lengths that key in by the user that cannot form the triangle, then we have to display invalid. So let's say we have the length of 8 cm and the other side is 8 cm, and we have 16 cm for the other side. So it's impossible to form the triangle. So this will be invalid. So we have to check. So in this question, the formula is not provided. How are you going to check whether it's a scaling triangle, isosceles triangle, or equilateral triangle? So you have to, based on your knowledge, to write your program. And what is the formula to calculate the area of the triangle? So the formula is not provided, so you have to use your own knowledge to write your own program. Okay, so this is the sample of the input and also output. So let's say we have 3 input, 3, 4, 5, means that we have the triangle with these 3 lengths. So it doesn't matter what is the unit, cm, meter, or watt. So I just put the value. Okay, let's say we have 3, 4, and 5. So you have to check whether it can form the triangle or not. If it can, what is the type of the triangle? So you have to output for the first line. And for the second line, this is the area. So you have to round it to a whole value. So this is the second line of the output. And same for the rest of the example, you can key in the value with decimal point. So we have 36.6 for one side of the length, 17.0, and 40. So for the same, you have to check whether it can form the triangle or not. If yes, then what is the type of the triangle and what is the area? So here we have provided 5 sample test cases. So when you write your program, you try to input all of these input. So you have to make sure that you can get the correct output for these all 5 cases. So let's say if the first 2 is correct and the rest is not correct, if you upload to the system, it will give you wrong answer. So you have to make sure all of the output is similar when you key in this input based on these test cases. Okay, so this is the suggested step. So this is not provided in the question. So you have to know what is the formula to calculate the area and how are you going to verify it is a triangle. So for this one, this is just the method to calculate the area. Okay, so this is one of the method using 3 sides of the length of the triangle. Okay, first we have to calculate the semi-perimeter of the triangle. So let's say we have the triangle. So we have 3, 4, 5 for each of the sides. So you have to calculate the semi-perimeter. So what is the perimeter of this triangle? So 4 plus 3 plus 5. So we will get 12. So semi means that half of the perimeter. So half of the perimeter, it will be 6. So this is the perimeter. After that, after you get the semi-perimeter, we have to apply into the parents formula. So this is to calculate the area. So we have square root of this value. So S is representing the semi-perimeter that we found. So S multiplied by S minus A. So A, let's say we have side A of 3, side B of 4, side C of 5. So this is just the representation of the side, the length of the side. Okay, so this is the example of the calculation. So we have A is equal to 3, B is equal to 4, C is equal to 5. So you just calculate the semi-perimeter. Then you just apply into the formula of calculating the area. So you just need to compute the inner part first. So you have the parenthesis, this is parenthesis. So 6 minus 3, we get 3. 6 minus 4, we get 2. And 6 minus 5, we get 1. So you just multiply all this value. 3 multiplied by 3, sorry, 6 multiplied by 3, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 1. So you will get 36. So square root of 36, we will get 6. So this is the area. So in case you get a 6.1 or 6 point something, let's say the length that you calculate the area is having the 14-point value, you have to round it out. So you have to round it out and display the whole value only. Okay, so this is the suggested solution. This is in C++. So you can try out with C language, Java language as you like. So I just show you the suggested solution in C++. So this one we declare as the data type of float for each side of the length of the triangle because it should be able to handle the 14-point value. And we ask the user to key in 3 sides, the length of the 3 sides of the triangle. Okay, so this is the formula to calculate the semi-perimeter. So we just convert it to C++ mathematical expression. So you sum out 3 sides and then you divide by 2. How about the area? So we have the square root of this whole value. So S multiplied by S minus side 1, multiplied by S minus side 2, multiplied by S minus side 3. So you just convert into your corresponding language. So if you have format for the Java, then you just convert it. So this formula is just to calculate the area of the triangle. So just now we mentioned that if the 3 lengths given by the user cannot form the triangle, then it will just see out invalid. So we have to check for the condition. So for this one, how are you going to check? It's not provided in the question. So you have to use your own knowledge. So first you have to make sure each side of the length is larger than 0. So it's impossible to have the length of 0. So make sure it's larger than 0. So we have AND operator, means that all of the conditions have to make. And then we have the checking. So we have the checking here. Side 1 plus side 2 is larger than side 3. And side 1 plus side 3 is larger than side 2. And side 2 plus side 3 is larger than side 1. So basically, this all condition has to be true, only it can form the triangle. If one of the condition is false, then it will just give you the output of invalid. So if you can form the triangle, if all of the condition is true, then you have to proceed to the checking of the type of the triangles. So we have 3 conditions. So if side 1 is equivalent to side 2 and side 2 is equivalent to side 3, then it will be equilateral triangle. Means that all of the length of the triangle is having the same length. So if side 1 equal to side 2, or side 2 is equal to side 3, or side 1 is equal to side 3, this is all, means that either one of the condition is true. So if we want to have isosceles triangle, we just need at least 2 sides are similar, the same length. So this will be isosceles triangle. So if the first 2 conditions not met, means that it will be scaling triangle, means that all of the length of the triangle is having different length. So this is the solution for the question to find out the type of the triangle and also the area of the triangle. So maybe I will share you the code. So I will share you the code so that you can try to create a CPP file and upload to the system. Okay, I will share the link. Okay, I will share the link with you. Okay, so I will share the code inside this link. I already share in the chat. So one of the question, can you use round instead of set precision? So you have to use round function to round out the value. As long as you can get the whole value, it should be all right. So you just make sure that it will display whole value without the decimal point. So I will share you the code. Okay, so this is the compiler. This is the compiler. Okay, so before you try to upload your solution, you can try to use the compiler to compile. So you can see that. You can see that here for the output, we have nothing. We can straight away key in the 3 sets of the value. So let's say we have 3, 4, 5. So we will get scaling triangle with the area of 6. So we just make sure that we follow the format. So you can try out different set of the test cases. So for the second one, we have scaling triangle with the area of 311. So you can check whether it is the same or not. So this is the sample output. So here we have the second output, scaling triangle with the area of 311. So this is just compiler. So you can use your own compiler to check the input and also the output. Okay, so I already shared the code Of course, you can use your own code. You can use your own code. Okay, sorry, I think I should share the thing to everyone. Okay, so this is the link. You should be able to see the link in the chat. So you can try to copy the code and put in your CPP file. So you can create your CPP file. So everyone can edit this code. So try not to edit this code so everyone can copy the same code. So if you want to have your own solution, then you can just provide your own solution. Okay, so you can just go to submit button. Okay, so you can just upload. Okay, here we have CPP file for the triangle. So you can just choose your own CPP file. Then select the problem. So this is the problem of depth and area of triangle. So you can just choose it, and this is in C++. So you can try to submit. Then you just click OK. Then you have the result of pending. You can try to refresh, or you don't want to refresh, you can just wait for the result. Okay, so the result is correct. So if it's correct, you don't have to do anything anymore. So you don't have to resubmit unless you get the wrong answer. So you can try to submit it now. So I maybe give you some time to try it out. So you can try to upload. Later on, I will just proceed to the second question. Okay, so for this question, there is a question from the participant. Okay, so for this session, we will focus on the problem solving. Okay, if for the preliminary competition rules, it will be briefed by another lecturer on the preliminary day. Okay, let's say you get wrong answer, you can try to resubmit again until you get the correct answer. Okay, so for the second question, for the same, you can just download it here. So we have pairing integer. So you can just download the question. So for the same, we have English version and also Chinese version. So you can go through the question. So for the student who want to try the system, you can just try it out. So you can log into any demo account. So I already shared in the chat just now. Okay, so here we look at the other question. This is also from the past year question of preliminary competition. Okay, so a secondary school teacher, Mr. Jimmy, give an integer x between negative 200 and 200 inclusive. Inclusive means that it includes the value of negative 200 and also 200. Then he picks a student to randomly provide a sequence of the integers with the requirement that each integer must be in the range from negative 100 to 100. Inclusive means that it will include negative 100 to 100. So if any integer provided by the student is not in the range, then Mr. Jimmy will just skip it and ask the student to provide more integers until he collects 20 integers that are in the required range. This is the range. So make sure it's between negative 100 until 100. And we need 20 integers. So this is very tricky, means that if you have the keying out of the range, it will auto ignore. So it will auto ignore. So when you try to solve the problem, make sure you have the input validation. So you have to make sure you have the input validation. If let's say you have negative 101, your program should ignore the value and it will let the user to key another correct, valid value. So this is very tricky. So you have to make sure you read the question correctly. So after you get the 20 valid integers, then you have to ask the student to find out the distinct pair. Means that we don't want to duplicate pairs. We only want the distinct pairs that can produce a sum value. So let's say the teacher gave the sum value of 4. And you have the list of the value, 20 valid value. So you have 3, you have 1, you have 5, and so on until you have the value of 20 integers. So you have to find out the pair. So if 3 plus 1 can give you the sum of 4, then this is the first pair. So this one, you just need to calculate the total number of distinct pairs that you can find that is equal to the sum given by the teacher. Okay, so for example, if a given integer is negative 101, it should be skipped because it does not meet the requirements set by Mr. Jimmy. So as I mentioned just now, if you have the integer value which is out of the range, it should be auto ignore. Then you can rekey in again. So this is very tricky. And on the other hand, if s is equal to 50, so this is the sum. So let's say this is the given sum of 50, then we have the pair of 1 and 49 and also 49 and 1. So these are considered as same pair. So we only need 1. So this is calculated as 1. So this is only calculated as one pair because this one and 49, 49 and 1 are considered as same pair. So if we have 1 and 49, then you have another pair of 53 and -3, then this is called distinct pairs. So both of these pairs can give the summation of 50. So it means that we have total 2 pairs that can give the value of sum 50. Okay, so write a program. So for the same, you can use C++, C, and Java. Okay, so here we have to input. You have to follow the sequence. So for the first line, for the first integer, it should be the sum. So S is equal to the sum value. So for the sum value, it must be in the range. You have to make sure the sum is in the range between -200 until 200, inclusive -200 and 200. So after you give the sum, only you provide a sequence of the integers. So for the sequence of the integer, this is the range. So make sure you key in between -100 until 100. And so this is just the input part. And for the output part, you have to display the number of the distinct pair that can give you the value of sum that you want. So this is the example of the input and output. So here we have a sequence of the value. So what is this? So the first one will be the sum, and the rest will be the integer. So how many value that we have? So you have to calculate only the valid range of the value. So you have to make sure you have 20 values. So you have 20 valid integers. So same for the second test cases. So this is the sum. So you just calculate if you have 20. Okay, now you look at the third one. So here we have the sum. And how many integers that we have? So if you calculate, it's more than 20. If it's more than 20, what is happening? So we have to check the value which is not in the range. So for example, 102 is not in the range, so the program will auto skip it. So you have to include this checking, and 230 is not in the range also. Actually, not all of the program you need input validation. You have to read the question carefully and look at the sample, input and output. So now we have to calculate how many valid integers that we have. So after you remove 2 integers which is not valid, then you have total 20 valid integers. Then you can try to start to find how many pairs that can give you the sum of 73. So you have to read the question properly. So the first line is the sum and the rest is the list of the integer, 20 valid integers. So same for the rest of the test cases. So you can just check yourself. Okay, so here is the test cases just now, but I already highlighted the possible pair. So here we have to get the sum of 55. So the possible pair, you just check yourself. So you can check using any algorithm. So you can check based on your own understanding based on your own flow of your program. So you can check pair by pair. Maybe you can check 2 and 45, 2 and 54. Is it this pair will give you 55 or not? If not, then you proceed to the 2 and negative 70. You just check one by one. So you just check one by one. So I already highlighted the possible pair. So 54 and 1, it will give you 55. And then we have 15 and 40, it will also give you 55. So 20 and 35, 10 and 45. Then we have 22 and 33, 60 and negative 5. So this pairs will give you the value of 55. So for the output, we just need to know how many pairs that we find. Make sure it's distinct and no repetition. So how many pairs that we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So total we have 6 distinct pairs. So it will just output 6. So same for the second test cases. So we have the sum of 80. So how many pairs that we have? 50 and 50. So for this same value, we have to remove it. So we have to remove it. So you can look at the condition. So we don't want to have same pair of the same value. So we have 250 here. So we have 250. We can just remove one of them. So in a program, we can just remove it. So we have 50 and 30. So this is considered one pair. And 60 and 40, 66 and 14, we have another pair that gives the sum of 80. Then third, fourth, and fifth. So here total we have 5. So here we have 40 and 40. So this we already can have one pair. So this one we just delete it. So we don't want to have the duplicate pair of the pairing. So same for the rest. So you just need to calculate how many pairs of the pairing that can give you the exact sum. So for the duplicate one, you just delete it. Okay, this is just the suggested solution. Okay, first we have the input validation. So this is the input validation. So we make sure the user key in the sum with the range of negative 200. Between negative 200 and 200. So if it's less than that, then you have to rekey in until it's correct. So this is just the input validation. And for the 20 integers, for the same, you have to check the input validation. So make sure it's within the range, and we only need 20 integers. So you can have your own algorithm, can have your own flow to write out your program. Not necessarily have to follow this one. So it's just a suggested solution. So you just check and remove the duplicate value. So this is just the flow of the code to check the duplicate and remove the duplicate value. So after that, you have to check the distinct pair. So if you have 2 same pairs, then you have to ignore it. So we only want one distinct pair. So this variable is to just accumulate how many distinct pairs that you have calculated. Then at the end of the program, you just see out the value. So this is just the suggested solution. We can try to run in our compiler. Okay, so I get your message. How to log into the competition system? You can refer to this previous previous message. So you have the link. You can use either one of the account to log in. So let's say you want to use username Debon01, password 12345678990. So you can just log in and try out the system. Okay, maybe I share you the code. Okay, so this is the second question, the solution. So you can just copy it. So how are you going to get the code? So I also share the link in the chat. So you can just click on it. Then you can just see this page and you try to copy and try don't modify the code so that other students can also copy the code. So I give you a few minutes to try. So try to create a CPP file and upload to the system. So you just click submit, select your source file, select the problem and select the language that you are using, then you just submit. So you can use any account that you want. So I see some of the students already try out or some of the question, the previous question and also the current question. So make sure you try out so you get familiar to this system. So during the competition, you can just submit most smoothly. Okay, if you are familiar with Java, then you can write the code in Java, then you can just upload the source file in Java. Okay, for question number 6, you can just now download it, finding vocabularies. So we have English version and also Mandarin version. You can have a look first before I start to discuss while waiting our student to try the system. So the format of the question is similar. We have English version, we have a Chinese version. So we will have the question, then we will have the instruction, what program that you have to write, what kind of the input and what kind of the output. So you have to follow it in sequence. So what is the first line? What is the second line? What is the third line? And so on, if there's any. So same for the Chinese version, we have the question, we have the hint if there's any, then this is the instruction to write the program. So what is the input? So for the input, if there's a sequence, then you just follow. So this is for output. So what output that you need, and what is the notes that you have to take care of. Then this is the sample. So all of the question will be having this format. Okay, so for the question, if you have logged into the system, the demo system, you should have the question on the top here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you can just click on it only. Okay, so for the output, you have to make sure it's exactly the same. So you have this input and you have this output. So if you have area in the second line, then you have to put it in second line. If the first line is the type, then you have to follow. So the format you have to follow exactly. Only you can get the correct output. Okay, so you can still continue to try. If you want, we will open until midnight. Okay, maybe I try to proceed to another question. So this question is from the final, past year question from the final competition. So for the same, you have to read the question carefully. The final competition, the question is a bit long. So you have to make sure you understand every instruction. So if you miss out one of the instruction, maybe your program will have some missing part and you cannot get the exact output. Okay, so here we have the 30 marks for this question, finding vocabulary. Okay, during an English writing lesson, students are given a paragraph selected from a storybook. Suppose that the number of words in the paragraph is not more than 100. So this is the criteria. So not more than 100 words in a paragraph. So students need to find out all of the vocabularies that contain at least 3 vowels. So what is vowels? Vowels, we have A, E, I, O, U. So duplicate vowel also calculated. So we just calculate all of the vowel, doesn't matter if it's repeated or not. So we need the vocabulary contain at least 3 vowels. So more than 3 also acceptable. If less than 3 is not acceptable. And then convert these vocabularies to uppercase. So what is uppercase? Uppercase means capital letter. So if you have the word of bedtime, you have to make sure you convert it to uppercase before you provide the answer. So the students are also required to count the number of vocabulary found in this category. You have to count the number of vocabulary found, which is having at least 3 vowels. So note that combining 2 words with hyphen or apostrophe is considered as 1 word. Moreover, repeated vocabulary must be ignored and not counted. So again, repeated vocabulary, we are not going to count. So for this special case, hyphen and apostrophe, the bedtime is considered as one vocabulary. And the apostrophe, they have also considered as one vocab. So you have to read the instruction very carefully. So here, so the word competition, how many vowels that we have? So O is the vowel, and E also vowel, I. So we have two I here, and we have O. So O, E, I, O, altogether we have 5 vowels. So this is valid. So this is the vocabulary that we want to find in the category that it has at least 3 vowels. Okay, now you have to write a program for the same. You have C, C++, or Java. Okay, so what is the input? A paragraph selected from a storybook which consists of n words, where the words is not more than 100. So you just make sure the number of words in the paragraph is more than 1 or start with 1, then less than or equal to 100. So don't over the range. What is the output? So in sequence. So you have to make sure that the output is in the sequence. So we have first line, or sorry, we have 2 items. So for the first item, you have to list out the vocabularies from the paragraph which contains at least 3 vowels. So these vowels can be duplicated, means that it can be repeated. So like this example competition. So we have 2I. So this is calculated as 2. So note that these vocabularies must be shown in uppercase. So before you display the output, you have to convert it to capital letter. So all are capital letter. So later on, we will look at the sample output. And you have to list in the sequence as how they appear in the selected paragraph. So you have to follow the sequence. So which vocabulary come first, appear first in the paragraph, you have to follow the sequence to list out. So you cannot just simply list out according to the ascending order or descending order. No, you have to follow the sequence where the vocabulary appear in the text first. And the second item, after you list out all of the vocabulary, then you just list out the number of vocabulary found in this category. This category means that you have at least 3 vowels. Okay, here we have note, hyphen and apostrophe are considered as part of the word, thus they must not be removed. So when you try to remove all of the punctuation means that you have comma, you have double quotation mark, you have semicolon, and so on. You can remove them, but for the hyphen and apostrophe, don't remove. So don't remove, remain it, because it is considered as new vocabulary. Repeated vocabulary must be ignored and not counted. So if there is a case that the competition appears twice in the paragraph, so you just ignore the competition, the second competition. So you just get the first vocabulary of the competition. So this is the instruction. Okay, of course, we have a few categories for the final competition and also preliminary competition. I mean, in terms of the marks. So we have easy, medium, and difficult. So you can see the marks here. So for this partial question, this finding vocabularies question, we have 30 marks. Of course, we have more difficult one, then we will have more marks. Okay, so this is the example. So this is the paragraph. So in this paragraph, so here we have 5 sample test cases. You can refer to the question also. You can download from the system. So here we have the vocabulary in the paragraph. So we have to make sure that it's not exceed 100 vocabulary. Okay, so what do we need to find? We have to find the vocabulary which is having at least 3 vowels. So if we look at I only 1, M only 1, sorry, we have 1 also, 2 we have 1. So you just check vocabulary one by one. So until you have the vocabulary of evening, so E is 1, second E, and we have I. So we have 3 vowels. So evening is considered as the vocabulary with at least 3 vowels. So you have to display it. So evening display, appear in the paragraph first. So you have to display it in the first vocab. So you have to change it to uppercase. If you display in lowercase, means that it will give you wrong output. So after you upload to the system, it will show you wrong answer because we must display it in uppercase. Then you just continue to check one by one. So mother, we only have 2 vowels, put we have 1. So you just check. So you check until you have the vocabulary which have at least 3 vowels. So you just list them out. So like table, spoonful. So this is hyphen, so we don't remove the hyphen. So A, we have 1 E, then spoon OO, and we have U. So we have 5 vowels, so it is listed, and we have the bedtime. So after list out all of the vocabulary, the final line you have to list out how many vocabulary in this category that you have found. So here we have 4. So same for other test cases. So for this example, someone, so we have apostrophe. So for this apostrophe, we don't remove, follow the instruction in the question. So we don't remove hyphen and apostrophe. So someone is listed because how many vowels that we have? O, E, O, E. So we have 4 vowels. So it's listed. So again, just check one by one the vocabulary. So you just list out in the sequence where it appears in the paragraph first. After that, you just list out how many vocabulary that you have found. So if it's 8, then you just display 8. Okay, same for the rest of the sample, sample output. So here we have total 5 test cases. So you can put all of the 5 inputs and make sure you get the correct output. Only you upload your solution to the system. Okay, so here we have the suggested step. So first you have to read each word from the input paragraph. So you have to ask the user to input the paragraph, and you have to make sure that it's not more than 100 words. Follow the question and remove all of the punctuation except hyphen and apostrophe. So you just list out the step, how you're going to write your code. And then after you remove the punctuation and you left the hyphen and also the apostrophe, you can start to check each of the word whether it has at least 3 or more than 3 vowels. So if you have, then you just convert each word to the uppercase because you want to display in the output. So this is just to make sure there's no duplicate vocabulary. So let's say competition, make sure if it appears more than 1 time in the paragraph, you only take the first one. So this is the meaning. If the word not seen before, add to the list of words that you want to display. After that, you print out means that you display all of the words that have at least 3 or more vowels. And then after that, the last one will be print out the number of words that you have found in this category. So this is just the step. So you have to follow the step to solve your problem. Okay, so this is the suggested solution. Okay, here we have a C++ program. So here we have a few functions. This is the function to check if the character is vowel or not. So you can just convert everything to lowercase or uppercase, up to you. We just want to make sure if we can get A, I, O, U. So it depends on the solution, how you're going to solve it. And here we have another function. So this function is to count the number of vowels in the word. So how many vowels in the word? So this is the function to count. So this is to count only. And then we have the function to remove the punctuation. And we have to preserve hyphen and apostrophe. So these are just the function. So now we look at the main function. So for the main function, you have to follow the sequence. First, you get the paragraph from the user input. So it will be in string data type. So it depends on what language that you are using and depends on how you write your program. So this is just the suggested solution. So you have to read each word, maybe you store each word in somewhere. Then you try to remove the punctuation. So this is the function call. So if you call the function, then you just go back to the particular function. So if you want to remove the punctuation, you go to this function. So I believe you should be able to write the code yourself because I think you learned programming before. Okay, so here we have to check if the word is having 3 or more vowels. If yes, then you have to convert to uppercase because you want to display. You have to make sure the word is unique, not seen before, means that it's not more than one time appear in the paragraph. So if it is, then you get the first time only, the rest you don't want. So add to the list means that add to the list that you want to display. And then after that, you have to bring out all of the words that you have find in this category and also bring out the number of words. So this is just the suggestion of the solution. So maybe we can try to run in the compiler. Okay, so you can just copy the input from the test cases and try to see whether we can get the output or not. So this is the output. So make sure it's similar to the test cases. So you can try the test cases number 2, number 3, and number 4 until 5. So I will share you this code. Of course, you can have your own solution. You can write your own code. Okay, so you can try to copy the code, create your CPP file, and try to upload to the system. So I give you a few minutes to try out. So you can try to upload to the system. Okay, so after the workshop, if you have time, you can try to solve it yourself. Then you try to upload to the system, see whether your solution is correct or not. Okay, let's say you have submitted your question and you keep get the wrong answer. You can always request clarification. So you can click on it. So you can send message to us. So it's about which question or technical issue. So you can just write your message. Then you can just send. So you just send the message to us if you have any question. Then we will get your question, then we will reply you. So this is submit, to submit your question. If you have any problem, you click on request clarification, then you try to write your message. And then we will try to reply you. So this one you can use during the competition. Okay, so if you get compilation error, maybe you can try to compile in a compiler first. Make sure it's able to compile, then only you upload. Okay, so you can keep on trying and I will proceed to another question. Okay, for the same, you can just download the question, the last question, cipher algorithm. Okay, so for this question is longer. You can see that the mark is located 40 marks. So just now the question only 30, so this one 40. So for the same, you have to try to understand the question. So although it's a bit longer, you still need to read line by line, understand all of the instructions carefully. So here we have the Chinese version and also the sample test cases. So all of the questions are having the same format. So you can try out the partial question so you can get used to it. Okay, so now we proceed to the last question, cipher algorithm. So the question is a bit longer. Okay, so the purpose of this question, I just summarized it. So means that when we try to send a message, we don't want unintended recipients to read it. So let's say I want to send you a message. I want to send, how are you today? So this is the message from me. I want to send to you. So when I try to send, I don't want other people to see. So I try to encrypt it. So this is called encryption. Okay, so we want to encrypt it. So we want to turn it to something that people cannot read. So let's say we want to turn it to something that people cannot understand. So this is encryption. So we want to encrypt it while sending so that people cannot read it. So after that, when we reach the participant, so it reach you, we try to decrypt it. So it will become, how are you today? So this is called decryption. So I have the original string, original message, and I try to encrypt it while sending it to you so other people in the middle cannot read it, cannot understand. Then after it reach you, then it will decrypt it. Decrypt it means that from the message that is not able to understand, become the original message. So this is the purpose of this question. So we have the procedure to encrypt it and also decrypt it. Okay, we have to look at the encryption principle first. So here we have a few items. First of all, each alphabet is corresponding to a number by referring to the following table. So you can see that we have A under Z, and each of the alphabet is representing by a number. So A is representing 0, B is representing 1, C is representing 2, and so on. So the last value will be 25. Okay, so for the second item, the system will then be given an original string and keyword with different length. So let's say, so this is the example. So this is the original length string. How are you today? So how are you today? And then the keyword is I'm fine. So you can see that here we have I'm fine. So this is the message I'm fine. So you can see that we only have I'm fine. This is the second one. So it will repeat until the same length of the original one. So I'm fine, the last two is I am only, I and N. So we just repeat until the same length of the original string. So later on, we will convert it to the encrypt string. So this is the third item. So the keyword will be repeated infinitely until the keyword string is having the same length of the original string, so that we can have one-to-one correspondence between the original string and keyword string. So this is the meaning. Okay, I try to delete first, later I have to write something on it. Okay, so for the fourth one, then at each position of the string, the number of the original character is added to the number of the corresponding keyword characters. Okay, what it means. So here we have to refer to the table just now. We have H value. H, what is the H value? H, we have 7. So here we have the value of 7. So keyword we have I. What is the value of I? I, we have 8. So we will have 8 here. So how about O? O, we have the value of 14. So this is 14. And then N, what is the value of N? And we have 12. So you just list out all of the value. In order to encrypt, what will happen, you look at number 5. Sum from 4 will then be divided by 26 in order to get the modular. So this is when, after we sum out the value, it is more than 20 or is more than 25, because we only have 25 value. So if after we add out is more than 25, then we have to get the remainder. So means that depends on the value, you have to subtract by 26. So 7 plus 8, what is the value? 15. So 15 is still in the range. What is the value of 15? P. So we will encrypt it as P. So what is this one? 14 and 12 means that we have 26. So 26 is more than 25 already. So what will happen? We have to modulus 26. So 26 modulus 26 means that we have to get the remainder. So remainder is 0. So what is the value of 0? 0 is the value of A. So we have A. Why we need to modulus divided by 26? Because A under Z we have 26 characters. We have 26 values. So you just do one by one. W we have 22. And F we have 5. So 22 plus 5 we get 27. So again you just modulus 26. So we have the remainder of 1. So what is the value of 1? 1 we have B. So we get the value of B. So this is how you encrypt it. This is the algorithm. You just add the value. If it's more than 25, then you just get the remainder. Okay, so this is just the repeat the instruction just now. The second row of the above table is just the keyword repeated until the keyword has the same length of the original string. So just now I mentioned that if it's undefined, then you just repeat it. So you just keep repeat until same length. So you just encrypt character by character. So if the size exceeds 26, then you have to get the modular. If you don't want to get the modular, you can just subtract, minus 26. If you minus 26, you still get more than 25, then you can just subtract again. Or you can just straight away get the remainder. So the concept is the same. So this is the example I already showed you just now. You just get the value for H. If you have H, then the keyword, if you have I, you get the value of I, you just sum it out. So after you sum it out the value, then you just get the value. If 15, then you get P. So this is how you encrypt it. Okay, how about decrypt? We also have to decrypt. So if decrypt, we just minus. Encrypt, we plus. Decrypt, we minus. Later on, I will show you the example. So this is just the other example only. So I'm not going to go through again. Okay, now you have to write the C++ program or Java or C. So the input. So for the input, we have 3 lines. You have to follow the sequence. The first line is the original string to be encrypted or decrypted, depends what is the purpose. So this is the original string. The second line will be the keyword used for encryption and decryption. So this is the keyword. This is the original original string, and we have the keyword. And the third line, you have to indicate either E or D. E for encryption. So D for decryption. So what is your purpose? So you have to get the 3 input from the user. So you have to read the note. So for the first and second line, the limited alphabet is in uppercase. So you have to make sure it's in uppercase. And each line can only have maximum 20 alphabet. Again, we have the input validation here, only accept 20 alphabet for the first line and second line. Means that we have original string and keyword. And what is the output? So the output will be the encrypted or decrypted string, depends on your purpose. Okay, so you have to check if the string, original string or keyword is having more than 20 alphabet, you have to display invalid input, or it consists of symbol or undefined character. Also invalid input because we only have A and Z. There's no other symbol, no digit, and so on. Only character, capital letter A and Z. Okay, so this is the sample of input. So first line, original string. Second line, the keyword And the third line, you want to encrypt or decrypt. E stands for encryption. So if D, this is decryption. So we have the original string keyword. So if we want to encrypt means that we have the word that we can understand. So after encrypt, we will have the sequence of the word that we cannot understand. And if you want to decrypt means that you have the message that you cannot understand. After you decrypt, then you can have the message that you can understand. So this is between encrypt and decrypt. Okay, so for this sample test cases that involve symbol, means that it will just give you invalid input because this is not following the rules already. And here we have the third line of K. We only have E and D. If we have K, invalid input. So this is decryption. We have the message that we cannot understand. We have the keyword to decrypt it. So this is the purpose of decrypt D. Then we can get the message that we can understand. Okay, so this is the suggested step. Okay, let's say we have the hello world and good. So how are we going to encrypt it? So this is example 1. So this is the table I copied just now. So A is representing 0 until Z is representing 25. So we have hello world and we have good. Sorry. So we have good. This is the keyword. So you just repeat until the same length of the original string. So we have good, good, and go. So we have to find out this encrypted string. So H, what is the value of H? H, we have 7. G, what is the value of G? G, we have 6. So 7 plus 6, we get 13. So this is for the first one. So 13 is having the value of N. So we get N. And for the second one, E, we have 4. O, we have 14. So this is for this one. So you just add up 18. So what is the value of 18? S. So this is for encryption. Encryption, you just need to add up. So maybe we look at this number 6. So we look at this one. Okay, so W, what is the value of W? W, we have 22. So we just put 22. O, what is the value of O? O, we have 14. So 22 plus 14, we get 36. So 36 is over 25 already. So what should we do? We get the remainder 20 modulus 26. So the remainder is 10. So we will get the value of 10. What is the value of 10? 10 we have K. So this is how we get K. So this is the step to encrypt. So how about decryption? Decryption we just minus. So R. So here again you have the second one we have the original string and we have the keyword yes. So the keyword yes, you just repeat until the same length of the original string. So here we have R. R we have the value of 17. And what is the value of Y? Y we have 24. So total up we have, for this decryption we have to minus. So we have to minus. So 17 minus 24 we get -7. So -7 is not in the range of 0 until 25. What should you do? So for this decryption you have to add 26. So after you add 26 you get 19. So what is the value of 19? We have T. So this is how you get T. So same for the rest. So same for the rest. If you have negative value, you just plus 26 in order to get back the character. So here after we decrypt, we have today is good day. So this will be the output. Okay, so this is the suggested step. So read each of the character from the input. So we have the original string and also the keyword. So for the input, you have to check 3 items. So first line, we have the string for encrypted or decrypted. Then it's limited to uppercase and limited to 20 characters only. Same for the second one. We have the keyword. And the third line will be either E or D only. If other character, it will be invalid input. So after you have these 3 input, then you just perform encryption and decryption and produce the result. For encryption, you just plus. For decryption, you just minus. So if it's not in the range, for encryption, you just find the remainder. If decryption, if it's not in the range, you plus 26. So this is the suggested solution. So we have a few functions. For the first function, we just want to check if it's uppercase or not. And the second function, we want to check if it's between A to Z. So this function also part of the encryption because we want to add the value. And this is the function. We also need to check if it's between A to Z. And this is a subtraction, means that this is the function, part of the function that we use for the decryption. Decrypt, we have minus. Plus, we have the process of encryption. So this is the function to perform the encryption and decryption. So you can see that for encryption, we call the function of add character. So this is the function of add character. So else means that if it's not encrypt, then it will be decrypt. So we have the function called of subtract. So this is the formula to subtract to get the decrypted code. Okay, so this is the main function. You just get the 3 input, 3 line. Then you check for the input validation. So make sure the input is not more than 20 for the first original string and also keyword. Then the operation means that you have E or D. So you have to make sure that only have 1 character and it's either E or D. So if it not meet the condition is not met, then you just display invalid input. So you can just check. So check the validity of the input and also for the original string and also the keyword. So you can just check. So if it's invalid, then you just put invalid. So this is the function call. So just now we have the function call to check the input validation. This is the one. Make sure it's uppercase and it's between A to Z. So this is to perform the encryption or decryption. So we call the function of transform string. So we have 3 arguments: input, the original string, the keyword, and the operation. So we set to E means that if it's E, then we go to the true, means that this condition is true, then we just perform encrypt. Else it will become false, then we just perform decryption. So this is the function. Okay, so now I try to show you in the compiler. Okay, so this will be the result. So you just check for each of the test cases, and I will share you the code. So this is a C++ code. You can try to copy and create your CPP file and try to upload to the system. Okay, so I think that's all for this session. So this session is just focused on the past year question and also how you're going to use the competition system. So this session is just 1.5 hours. So that's all for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. King。谢谢两位博士。我相信通过这几个工作坊尤其是比赛的一些题目，还有那些同学也可以继续在那个网站把旧的那些题目学习，然后希望在来临的8月19号的预赛取得好的成绩，争取晋级我们9月1号的那个大决赛。那我这边有想跟同学宣布一下那个预赛的那个时间就是8月19号星期六它是用 online 举行，时间是3点半到5点。那比赛的那个时间呢，其实是1个小时3点半我们优大团队会解释一下那个游戏那个rule and regulation 就是比赛的一些规则。然后4点到5点就是1个小时的比赛，总共有15题。OK， 那预赛的题目呢，都会相对的比较简单一点。那请同学努力作答那我们成绩呢将会在21号公布，就是2天后星期一会公布成绩，然后也会宣布晋级进入决赛的一些队伍。那经过筹委会的一个开会讨论呢，我们将扩大那个决赛的队伍从30队呢扩大到60队。那主要是为了让同学更加有扩大同学的一些视野那有机会多点时间跟其他同学做一些交流。那同时呢，我们也会安排一个非常有分量的一个讲座会让同学可以获取不错的一些收获，带回各自的学校。那主办当局呢也会提供外州的带队老师和决赛的同学的1晚酒店住宿，那请同学好好把握，然后争取晋级决赛。那决赛那种比赛的规则大家也很清楚了就是要最短的时间答对最多的题目，可以晋级。好，我的报告到这边，请问一下世谋还有什么要补充的吗？
没有了今天我觉得就我们的那个规章的话会在之后寄给老师，因为我们还有一些东西要修改一下。
好，我们规章也会在那个 WhatsApp 的群组上公布了好，还没有组队成的同学也尽量让我们知道，然后我们来协助把队伍组成。好，有什么问题我们就在 WhatsApp 的群组里面提出，然后我们会尽快回答。那如果没有什么的话，今天的那个工作坊就到此结束，谢谢大家的参与。好，谢谢大家，再见。